Estamos vivo otra vez. Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches, dependiendo de dónde vives. Yo soy de los Estados Unidos, entonces saludos de los Estados Unidos. Back with another live stream. Very excited for this one because we're talking about Latin dance and music and how you can learn Spanish with it. It is quite important, I would say. Es súper importante para saber sobre la música, to learn about music within Latin America. And then for me, I would say, kind of just to start it off, that I didn't grow up with Latin music at all, or without. I would say no, without music in general. I grew up in a household where I wasn't really listening to music at all, and I didn't really care about music at all when I was younger, when I was growing up. Not until I actually started to learn Spanish. That's kind of when I got more into listening to music, and it's quite crazy. It's quite crazy because I came from not listening to music at all to now starting to dance to Latin music. So I think that's like a huge change, and for me, it's also to show Spanish learners where their journey can take them. And I have one question in the chat right now. What is your favorite genre of Latin music? I have cumbia, merengue, salsa, y bachata. So there are other ones too. So if you don't see your selection there, you can just write that in the chat because there are quite a few of them. So I think it's really important to learn Spanish music or Latin music. Actually, we'll talk about that right now because that's a little bit confusing. So Spanish music, like to be more technical, Spanish music is technically music from Spain, and then Latin music is music from Latin America. So that can get a little bit confusing. I know that was really confusing for me when I started to learn Spanish because if I'm going on Google, if I'm going on YouTube, I'm going to look up Spanish music, right? And then that's it. So I can find music that is from Spanish speakers, right? From Spanish speaking countries. But we have Latin music, and that kind of, in this case, we're talking about these types of genres like cumbia, merengue, salsa, bachata, que más, otro más, como rumba, cha-cha. So there's a lot of different genres within Latin music, and then also within Spanish music as well, which I don't know too much about. I'm just starting to learn the music that is in Spain. So la música española. So that's how you would technically say it in Spanish there. La música española, and then we also have la música latina. So Latin music, o qué más, o como la música Latinoamérica, so Latin American music. So it's a little bit different. But if you were to just look up Spanish music, you're going to find music that's in Spanish, and I think that's what most people are trying to do. If you look up Latin music, you can kind of find the same exact thing. So some reasons why you should learn Spanish with music, with Latin music and Latin dance, and also Spanish dance too. I'll throw that in there. Is number one, to have an understanding more of the culture of Spanish speaking countries, just because it's so integral. It's extremely important within Spanish speaking countries. Something that I've noticed. There's a pattern over the past few years of me learning Spanish, and understanding the culture of even your own home country. So, I'm born and raised in the U.S., United States, and Latin music does have a big influence here. And there's also a lot of Latin artists that grew up in the U.S. that are very popular within Latin America and with around all different Spanish-speaking countries. So that's something that I've been learning very recently, and then also because we board Mexico, of course. So there's a lot of fusion when it comes to music as well, just because of how close we are. And then also when you're learning Spanish with with Latin music, Latin dance, of course, you're going to be increasing, or you have the ability to increase your listening skills. So that's a really fun way to do that. Increase your listening skills, increase your pronunciation skills. Going to be able to communicate better with Spanish speakers and be able to connect with them easier. And then also, it can increase your mental health as well. So there's a lot of good benefits when it comes to learning Spanish through Latin dance and Latin music. And even I'll say, like, when I was growing up, I heard a lot of Latin music when I was growing up, but I never knew it was Latin music because at that time I wasn't speaking Spanish or anything like that. I wasn't learning Spanish like before I was 13, but I heard a lot in movies. I heard a lot in movies. I heard a lot over the radio, but I never knew exactly what genre it was. I didn't know necessarily what country it came from or nothing like that at all. So I think that's also the aspect of kind of understanding the whole culture aspect. So like within my own country, well, we have a lot of movies that come from this country, but there's still a lot of Latin music as well. So I think that for me has been pretty interesting to know and kind of start to analyze more of like, oh, I've heard this song like my whole life, and it's actually a really important song in Mexico or Colombia, or something like that. And for anybody who's come in, make sure that you answer the question in the chat here. What is your favorite genre of Latin music? And if you don't see it, make sure that you just write in the chat what other genre that you listen to, because there are many of them. Hola, ah, has regresado otra vez. Bienvenido. Mi amigo fue de Ecuador, ¿correcto? De Ecuador, yo creo. O se me olvidó. De nada, de nada. Es un placer. So I've been listening to Spanish music, Latin music, probably for only 3 years. So really not long. I didn't really get into it until I'll probably say 2020. But 2019, I was kind of listening to it a little bit. Oh, Africa. Oh, lo siento. Okay. I was thinking of someone else. Okay. De Africa. Que bueno. Let's see here. And do you listen to a lot of Latin music? The whole theme of this live stream is just talking about kind of like the influence of Latin music when you're learning Spanish, why it's important, and why you should listen to it. Yeah, for a lot of different reasons, which I'm going to go over more. So yeah, I started in 2019, mostly just listening to Spotify a little bit, but I was never focusing on like the lyrics really. I was kind of just listening to it for fun, and that was it. And AEO says, "See, listens to Latin music. What genre do you listen to? And also, do you dance to Latin music?" And I think it's no, you don't dance to it. Okay, no bailes, no bailes. No todos son bailadores. Well, when I started to listen, I don't even know how. I don't even, like nobody recommended me to listen to Latin music. I kind of just started on my own. I don't even know. I can't even remember how exactly I even did that necesariamente. Oh, no, no sé. Oh, no sabes nada sobre la música latina. Bueno, pues por lo menos podemos decir que like a lot of Latin, we can say a lot of Latin music has like roots como raíces o como la raíz from Africa too. So if you listen to some Latin genres, you're gonna hear the connection. You're gonna hear the connection. You probably see it too. as far as like the type of dances that there are as well. And I think that was just like for me was like super interesting. Um, so a lot of culture from Africa, traveled over, of course, to this side of the world as well, over the years. So there a lot with, food, a lot with food, music, and dance. So there's actually, a big connection there. SOS, yeah, there's a big connection there. Um, but yeah, we can talk about that in a little bit because that's a very long conversation too, and that's something that I haven't like analyzed too much, like how like which ones come from which countries like originally, but of course a lot of the countries within like Latin America are from like French background or Spanish background, Portuguese, but all these countries are very close together. So there's going to be I think like some overlap as well when it comes to that culture and then seeing a lot of similarities in between the music as well in between all these different countries. So it's really fascinating to me. I think it's really cool. I learning about all this stuff. But yeah, so I started slowly listening to Spanish music. It was mostly like a reggaeton at the time, like 3 years ago. It wasn't too much of anything else. Mostly reggaeton, a little bit of salsa. But like at this time, so like 2 years ago, I didn't know anything at all about about Latin music whatsoever. I didn't know any genres. I couldn't tell you what artists there were within Latin music. I couldn't tell you anything about Latin dance. So like the past, just like the past 2 or 3 years that I've been learning Spanish on my own, I've been learning a ton about Latin music from listening to it on my own, but then also talking with a lot of my Spanish speaking friends. So okay, AEO says, me gusta música, pero todavía no escucho a música latina. Um, a música latina. So he likes music, but but still hasn't listened to Latin music. So I definitely recommend that you do. You can start with. I'll put a few. Well, you already have some in the chat there in the in the with the question, but I'll put some other ones too that you can look up because there's a lot of genres with in between the different countries, right? Spanish speaking countries within Latin America, but then there's also different genres of music, right, in each country as well. So, like, let's say like the Dominican Republic, for example, in la República Dominicana, tiene la bachata y también tiene merengue. So they in the like Dominican Republic, they have la bachata, and then they also have merengue. And then Mexico, they have I think they have maybe like 4 or 5 genres of music as well. They have narco corridos, they have mariachi, they have banda. I'm forgetting some other ones. I'm just learning them. I just started learning them actually recently with my italki tutor. But like, if you told me this like a month ago, I couldn't tell you any what the genres were in Mexico. So like, there's a lot. I'll put some of these in the chat. So we got narco corridos. So that one's in Mexico. And mariachi. ¿Qué más? That's from Mexico. I think I should have wrote that down. Mariachi, banda, nago corrido, mariachi. I think there's a few other ones from Mexico. And then apart from the ones that I put in the question with cumbia, merengue, salsa, bachata, and there's also the rumba. Tenemos rumba. Espérame. I'm just gonna come. Tenemos, o sea, cumbia, rumba, samba, but that one's in Brazil, but still a Latin American country, and tango. Then also mambo. So there's plenty to listen to. Like you won't ever go bored listening to Latin music ever. You won't ever go. You won't ever be bored. And I think there's like a little bit for everything, just because the wide variety of music, but then also the wide variety of instruments as well, because they definitely don't sound the same. They definitely have their own little style depending on what country they're from, and then of course within each country as well. For example, with like La Salsa, with salsa, I didn't know this until this year actually, that there's different styles of salsa. So they have like salsa con estilo como, I think, como de Mexico. So like salsa from Mexico, salsa from Colombia, and things like that. So there's different styles of salsa, for example, different flavors, sabores de salsa. Música melódico. No sé qué tipo de música. Ellos says yo me prefiero música melódico, but I'm not sure what that is. I think that sounds like melody, but I'm not sure how to describe that in Spanish, or actually even in English either. Rumba, samba, tango, mango, rumbo, samba. Oh yeah, there's also cha-cha. I learned that last week. Okay, melody. Okay, samba, rumba, samba, rumba, cha-cha-cha. So yeah, there's a ton, and as you can see right now, like how I'm talking about how much variability that there is within all these different genres, right? That just kind of that tells you right there how, I would say, like the cultural aspect of it. Because, for example, like with the salsa, there's different types of salsas. So I was like, oh, why is that? Why? How come they don't just have one type of salsa, right? But like each of these different countries, they have their own styles of doing it. For example, it actually just happened to me recently when I was at the discoteca last week. I went to this discoteca for a dance class, and then I was dancing with this one woman, and she's, I think she said she was, yeah, she's half Dominican, so half Dominicana and half Puerto Riqueña. So she's half Dominican, half Puerto Rican, and she was telling me that the way that she was dancing like la salsa was like the Puerto Rican way, right? So I'm like, well, I have no idea what that is. I only know like the salsa that I dance, or that I was taught in my in my classes, right? So like for me that was like different, because like her steps are different. I don't know what type of salsa that I'm learning, if it's from a particular country, or if I think if it's just like the basics or whatever. But I couldn't really dance with her just because the way that she did it was from a different country. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and that goes like to the whole culture thing. So we could have had a conversation right there, about music. Why is salsa different in Puerto Rico versus versus or versus like the salsa that I was taught versus the salsa that they dance in Colombia and Mexico, and things like that. So that's kind of the cultural aspect, but then also communication. So it's going to help you with communication, learning vocabulary related to music, of course. Learning vocabulary from, I mean, whatever type of topic, whether that's music, TV shows, science, poetry, any type of vocabulary, of course, is going to help you and increase your knowledge of the Spanish language and help you communicate. But then in this case, we're just talking about music. So learning the vocabulary, with music, to be able to hold a conversation about it, that's also very important. For me, I don't know too much vocabulary related to music and things like that. I know like the absolute basics, but I'm trying to learn more about it so I can speak more with different Spanish speakers about it, instead of just saying like, oh, me gusta salsa, me gusta bachata, me gusta, just like that, like very simple sentences. I want to be able to have more deeper conversations. Talk about a song for 20 minutes. Talk about a particular genre for 20 or 30 minutes with a Spanish speaker. So that's definitely a goal. Let's see here. We got any vote? Anybody coming in? Make sure that you put your vote in here in the chat for the question that we have for this live stream. what is your favorite genre of Latin music? If you have one, if you don't see it there, make sure that you throw it in the chat which one that you like. So AEO, have you ever had a conversation with a Spanish speaker about music before? About Latin music, Latin dance, or anything related to music? And then I'll make sure that I look up música melódica or melódico también, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that would be in Spanish necessarily. Okay, you never had a conversation with someone about music before. Okay, I didn't start doing that probably until like 2020 when I started using Hello Talk. That's when I started to do it like a little bit, but it wasn't like deep conversation. It's like, oh, you like this artist? Oh, te gusta esta artista? Oh, okay, que bien. And that was it. So it's like it was very simple, but now I'm having a little bit more deeper conversations and I'm trying to increase my vocabulary. So, tenemos artista, tenemos música, tenemos instrumentos, so instruments, music. We have ritmo, which is like rhythm. Patron also means rhythm. I learned that this year, which is kind of strange. Well, not it's not. It was strange that patron means rhythm, but it's also like an alcohol too, right? Patron. I don't know if it's spelled the same though, but patron also means rhythm. What else? And then vocabulary related to dance. I'm learning a lot of that right now. So different parts of your body, that you're using when you're dancing. A new one for me is el tacón. So el tacón is your heel. So that's kind of new for me. I'm trying to learn what is your like the ball of your foot. I kind of forgot what that is. En general, mi tipo de música como rap. Okay, AE says en general. So in general, their music or the type of music is rap. Okay. Well, there's also a lot of raperos. There's a lot of rappers too within Latin music too. And I will actually put one in the chat. Oops. Welcome, bienvenidos, Cory Perry. Yo no puedo bailar, pero sí estoy de acuerdo con el hecho que se puede aumentar su vocabulario con música. Es lo que yo trato de hacer cuando trabajo todo el tiempo. Qué bueno. Sí, eso es la verdad. There's a lot of vocabulary. There's a lot of vocabulary related to music and dance, and especially when you start to speak with Spanish speakers about it. You're not just like listening, to like an interview about it, or something like that. It's not a bad thing, but like once you have an actual conversation, they'll be able to talk your ear off, when it comes to music, because music is so important in different Spanish speaking countries. It's absolutely insane. I was saying beforehand at the beginning of this live stream that kind of like when I grew up, I wasn't ever listening to music, so I didn't care about music really growing up. I didn't really listen to it, basically ever. I didn't know any history when it came to music. But then kind of over time, and especially when I started to learn Spanish, that's when I got really hooked to learning a lot more about Latin music and then Latin dance. And then just this year, I would say more about Latin dance. So I'm not a dancer. I'm not a dancer, not professional, not even like really casual. But just this year, I started going to discotecas for the first time. So these are just like, bars and stuff where they play Latin music. And then I started taking some classes. So I'm taking classes for Bachata, which is a genre that originates from, I guess, technically, ay, Dios, La República Dominicana. That always trips me up because it's such a large word. La República Dominicana, so Dominican Republic, and then also La Salsa. I don't know where La Salsa originates from, which country necessarily. No, all I know is that they have a lot of different styles of salsa in different Spanish speaking countries. Oh yeah, sí, pero para regresar al vocabulario, like if I'm talking about dancing, if I'm dancing with someone, then I'm gonna talk about la mano. I'm gonna talk so the hand. I'm going to talk about el brazo, so your arm. I'm going to talk about los hombros, your shoulders. I'm going to talk about la espalda, your back. I'm going to be talking about mis piernas, my legs. I'm going to be talking about los pies, mis pies, my feet as well, because I guess like if I'm ever trying to explain like a particular move, so in this case that could be un movimiento. Un movimiento is like a movement for a particular dance. Then I'm gonna try to explain to that my dance partner in Spanish. So that's something that I've been challenging myself to do this year, or I mean, over the past few months, to have the vocabulary necessary for me to be able to explain to someone in Spanish how to do a particular move in Spanish. So I think that's something that's been like really fun, but also like very difficult too, because it's like very technical. Es muy técnico el baile, entonces it's a poco difícil. And then you're also listening to Spanish music at the same time, and then trying to like guide someone is kind of difficult. So I have to say like, oh, okay, como sigue así, o sigue así, pero levanta la mano derecha. So like continue like what you're doing right now, but then lift up your right hand. So levanta la mano derecho. So I'm learning vocabulary like that. I'm learning different directions like that as well over the past few months. And Corey, what is your favorite genre of Latin music? Let me know that in the chat here. I love to know that. So yeah, one. What is your favorite genre of Latin music? We have bachata. I love bachata too. I just started listening to bachata for the first time in my life just last year. AEAEO says tienes que estudiar específico vocabularios de música or you acquire it naturally. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Estoy de acuerdo contigo. Tienes que estudiar específicamente o como dedicar mucho tiempo a solamente un tópico para aumentar ese tipo de vocabulario en que puedes utilizar. Because you can like learn, like you're saying right now, you can acquire it naturally, but you're gonna learn it a lot faster, right? If you dedicate like a few weeks or let's say even a month to one specific topic. And that's one method of learning Spanish is learning by groups. Oh, ¿cuál es tu pregunta? What's your question? Oh, okay. That was a question, or were you saying it? No, no estoy seguro. Lo siento. Perdóname. AEAEO, was that a question? Tiene que estudiar específico vocabulario de música. So yeah, if that is a question, like I was just saying, you can do it either way you want. So you don't have to like study, music if you don't want to. You can study, whatever you want. And then, if you have like conversations in Spanish with a Spanish speaker, maybe music will come up, maybe it won't. And then like you just said, you would acquire it naturally just by, hearing people talking about it over and over again. But then if you actually really wanted to start to use this vocabulary that's related to, Latin music and, Latin dance and things like that, then if you really want to learn it fast, then you would dedicate time to like study that every single day, let's say, for like a few weeks or like for a few months. So like right now I would so let's say if I want to learn more about music, so what I'm going to do is I might go out and find a book that's in Spanish and that's about music, or I'm going to read a lot of articles. I'm going to read a lot of like news articles about the music industry. So then you're going to be gaining a lot of vocabulary that way from reading all those news articles or that book. And the same thing you can do with YouTube videos as well. So you can go on YouTube, and then you can look up interviews. It's something that I've done before. I've listened to interviews with Mark Anthony, so he's from the U.S., a very popular salsero, very popular salsa singer. So I would watch his interviews. He has interviews about like his life with music. That's all in Spanish. So that's something that you can do as well to be able to really get a good grasp on vocabulary that's related to music. and then of course listening to songs as well in Spanish. All right, Cody Perry says, no estoy muy familiar con muchas géneros latinas. Yo trato de escuchar música romántica como Prince Royce. Ok, ok, eso. Debido al hecho que canta mucho más despacio. Oh, ok, entiendo. Rap es demasiado rápido. Yo entiendo eso. Ajá. Yo entiendo tu punto, pero puedes lograr mucho. Como no te desanimes, no te frustres con esto, porque eres capaz de lograr entender y escuchar a ese tipo de música que es muy rápido, pero solamente tienes que practicar mucho y también leer letras es algo que te recomiendo hacer con la música. Mirar las letras en español mientras escuchas la música. So yeah, I've listened to a little bit of Prince Royce, and I'm not gonna lie to you. No te voy a mentir. No te voy a mentir. Yo no soy fan de Prince Royce. There's a few songs that I like of his, but for whatever reason, I don't like his style of bachata, and that's probably just because I'm more used to like maybe like older bachata, maybe I don't know, but I haven't been like a huge fan of his style of bachata. But maybe I need to listen to more of his music so I can get warmed up to it. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like when he sings, it's like really clear, right? It's very clear and it's fairly slow as well. And there's other, and then you said, oh, I didn't think I read this in English. So Cody Petty says, I'm not really familiar with a lot of with a lot of Latin genres. I try to listen to romantic music, like Prince Royce, who is un bachatero, so he's a singer of bachata music, because they sing more, they sing slower, and then rap is way too fast. So yeah, no, it's especially if you're just starting out, it can it's going to be very difficult to try to understand if you're listening to rap right away. But that's fine. That's a part of the process, right? That's what's going to happen. And it doesn't have to be just fast music, right? So this is something that I've learned over the past like year and a half. So there's some music that they're slow, but you still can't understand it because, let's say, of the accent of the Spanish speaker, and like there's a lot of instruments and things like that. So I would make sure that you kind of like take that into consideration, just because you can't understand it. Oh no, that music that's really fast. That's not the only type that you won't be able to understand. Like there's Anthony Santos, right? His music is not that fast, but I still can't understand basically anything that he's saying. And that's number one due to his accent, but also because he's using a lot of words that I'm not familiar with. He's using a lot of words because he's from the Dominican Republic. So a lot of his music I don't understand very well, and it's not because he's speaking fast. So I'll make sure that I would just take that into consideration too. Like a Spanish speaker, they can speak slow, and you still may not understand them. That has happened to me plenty of times, plenty of times. Let me know, Cody. What other artists do you like? What other Latin artists do you like besides Prince Royce? And I guess since we're on the topic of bachata, other bachateros. What other bachateros do you like? For me, I like Romeo, of course. I like Luis Miguel de Amarie. I like Zacaria Ferreira. Quién más? Alex Bueno. But I think Alex Bueno, he might. I don't know if he's technically merengue or if he's bachata. So those two are kind of confusing to me sometimes. I mean, they do sound different, but some of them they sound like they sing both genres at the same time. But that's because I probably don't know too much of these genres. Yeah, I'm just like listening to them for the first time. Trying to remember who else. Luis Miguel de Margue, Romeo. Let me see. I have to like write down all these artists, or else I forget them. Oh yeah, I also like El Sabal de la Bachata. Claro que sí. Corey Perry dice, sí, los dominicanos tienen muchas palabras de slang cuando hablan. Claro que sí. Mucho slang, pero también el acento. El acento cambia todo, porque hablan como así. Es como se enlarga la palabra. Me encanta cómo hablan los dominicanos. I love the way that they speak. They have a lot of slang. I haven't listened to it too much. Is it Tim Bao, like the rap from the Dominican Republic? That is like just straight slang. It's like for me, I don't know any Spanish word in Dimbao. I think it's Dimbao, right? Dimbao. I don't know any. I can't understand their music at all. But it's kind of cool because since they speak so fast, I like to speak fast as well. So I try to listen to that type of music sometimes. I'm sure it's Dimbao. Yeah, Dimbao. And it's so new too. That's the craziest thing. It's a very new genre of the DR, or like a new genre in general. Right in the chat, Dimbao from de la República. I don't know why I keep having challenges saying that word, La República, because I'm trying to say it too fast. I think La República, and yet I'm trying to say like every letter correctly and make sure that it's clear. La República, La República Dominicana, the Dominican Republic. La República de Mexico is not just Mexico. I learned that as well. La República de Mexico. Let me write some bachateros in the chat so you can check them out. El Chaval de la Bachata. Of course, we have Romeo Santos, un bachatero super famoso, and I think he's from Nueva York. I think he grew up in New York. Romeo Santos, Luis Miguel de Amargue. I might mess up his name here, but Zacaria Ferreira. I really like his music a lot. Claro. Okay, Cory Perry says, voy a buscar los cantadores que has escrito. Yo siempre pongo un playlist, sigue escuchando así, que no sé muchos nombres de los artistas. So Corey says, going to look up the singers that you have written. I always put a playlist, put in a playlist, and I continue listening so that I don't know many names. Artist names. And excuse me if I don't, if I don't translate it correctly, because translating is kind of difficult. But yeah, no, the same thing with me. I would try to memorize the names of the different artists, the different Latin artists that you're listening to, and then also, so like I make a list like in an Excel sheet or in a Word doc, or in your notebook. Write down the artist, write down where they're from, write down the genre of music that they sing, and then also write down different songs that you like, so you can keep track that way. That's something that I wish that I was doing earlier, and that's going to help you, remember more, than be able to talk to other people about it as well. AEO, lo siento, tengo mala conexión. No, todo está bien. Yeah, it's having some connection issues. No hay problema con esto. No te preocupes. No te preocupes por eso. No hay problema. Se pasa. And then going to the question here, we have, for what is your favorite genre of Latin music? We have cumbia, merengue. Right now, we just have 2 votes here. We have one for salsa, we have one for bachata. So, bienvenidos a todos. For all those who are coming in, make sure that you answer the question that we have, the question of the day. What is your favorite genre of Latin music? Those are just a few of them. There's a lot more. So if you don't see your genre there, your favorite genre, make sure that you write it in the chat. below the actual question. And then let's see here. I want to there's another one. I think Anthony Santos. I don't know if Anthony Santos is technically. I'm gonna send him his name anyway because he's from the Dominican Republic. I think technically, I don't know if it's technically merengue or if it's bachata. Like I said before, I'm still kind of confused on sometimes like the difference. Like sometimes it's a very clear difference, but when it comes to, I don't know when exactly bachata came to be. I don't know if it was like the 80s or the 90s exactly, but then like merengue in the 90s and then also kind of like older bachata for me sounds kind of similar. So it's hard for me to differentiate those two. But I love like older merengue. Older merengue sounds really good. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. And then we have La Banda Gorda, Alex Beno, Elvis. Uh, I'll give you some artists for merengue as well. But here we're just gonna say this is like a mixture. So it's gonna be bachata and merengue. We have Alex Bueno. Oh wait, I need to put this all in one line. So we have Alex Bueno. We have La Banda Gorda. La Banda Gorda. La Banda Gorda. That's the type of music like La Banda Gorda that's gonna like have you losing a lot of or like shedding a lot of calories because it's the type of music that you're gonna be like just pop 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 like the whole time. And then we have Alex Bueno, Elvis Crespo. I should just open up my Spotify. We have Elvis Crespo, Elvis Crespo. Yeah, let me look. Yeah, let me look at my Spotify. Yeah, make sure that you do that too. I think you said that already. Yeah, you already have a playlist. So yeah, I have a playlist as well on my Spotify. So I have a playlist for the different genres. I try to do that, break it up. So I have raperos like reggaeton. I have salsa, bachata, ranchero, cumbia, rumba, vallenato, española, música española, Tejana. Tejana is really interesting. So that is music from Texas. So that's where the name comes from. Música Tejana, Tejana. I've been learning a lot about that recently. So like una artista tejana sería Selena. So Selena is an artist that's saying Tejano music. I'm just looking at Manny Manuel. Give me some more Manny Manuel. They're technically bachata. So yeah, in my in my merengue playlist, I'm definitely mixed up on which ones are bachata and which one is bachata merengue. And then AEO asks, ¿Cuál es el rap es demasiado rápido? Eso es en español. So like, what are some rap that's really fast in español? So yeah, if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see Dimbao. So Dimbao de la República Dominicana. That's a very fast style of rap. Really, anything from the Dominican Republic is really fast, but that type of rap is very very fast. I would definitely check that out. They have a really cool beat, and yeah, they have a really interesting beat. I like their flow, and it's very difficult. At least for me, it's difficult for me to kind of understand just because they use a lot of slang as well. So they don't just rap very fast, but they also use a lot of slang from the Dominican Republic. So definitely check out Dimbao as well. Check out that. For other ones, I don't know of any genres necessarily. I mean, besides the reggaeton, I mean that kind of encompasses a lot of of rap within Latin music. But I don't know if there's any other names. Like right now, I couldn't tell you. I don't know what the like what the name of rap is like within like within the Mexican community. in the US. There might be a name for that, but I don't know. I think it may just be reggaeton. I'm not sure. But I mean, at least for me, that's kind of like the only genre that I know. Unfortunately, I wish I had more. I'll try to look them up. I'll try to look them up though. Other like what other genres of rap are there within Latin music? 'Cause I only know of reggaeton and then dembow. Those are the only two ones that I know of at the moment. It was crispo, como merengue, a la jaza, a la jaza, omega. These are some fairly popular ones in DR. This is a good start. So you hopefully you'll find some good music from these artists. Yeah, Alex Bueno is people. Los Toros. Oh yeah, Los Toros band. They're really good too. Los Toros band. All right, so that's for merengue. And then I'll put some artists, some rap artists I know, um, that are in the Spanish. But again, like I don't know what the genre is actually called besides reggaeton. But I'll give you one. Of course, you may know him already. Oh, it's not going yet on the chat. We have Daddy Yankee, Daddy Yankee, Faruko. But he's kind of changing his style of music recently. Daddy Yankee. Oh yeah, and question for you, Cory Perry. Have you had a lot of conversations in Spanish with Spanish speakers about music before? Yankee, TH, Micro TDH. I like this artist a lot. He's from Venezuela. He's like fairly young too. I don't know if he's really popular or not, but he has really good music. Really good music. Like he sings and he raps. He plays. I think he plays the guitar too. So he has like a really interesting kind of combination of music. Yeah, I have a lot of his music in my playlist. Let's see. You probably already know Bad Bunny. Yeah, a lot of he's from the DR. Mike Tones. Yeah, I don't have too much rap, honestly. I don't know. Don't have too much rap in my playlist. Genre rise. I just know. Yeah, I only have a few. I only have a few songs here. Let's see. All right, then I'll put these in the chat. Then Adon Cruz, he's not too bad. Okay, Corey Perry says, no he tenido unas conversaciones sobre música en general, pero sobre cosas al azar. I don't know what that means. ¿Qué exactamente es eso? ¿Qué es al azar? No, no tengo ni idea. Sí, amo tener música, sí. Once you start exploring music in Latin America, it's whew, you're gonna learn so much. There's a lot. There's so much. Like I was saying beforehand, there's a lot just within one particular country. There's a lot, not just in between all the different within the different Spanish speaking countries, but within each country there's a lot. So, oh, you said random things. Okay, I have never heard of cosas al azar. I have never heard of that phrase before. Never heard of that before. That's interesting. I'll use that one. Thank you. I'll write that down. Yeah, that one's new for me. So I just had music, some music. So in general, yeah, I would definitely recommend speaking with Spanish speakers about their about the music from their particular their country, but then also like their city or their state if they have a state, or it may be like a different name. como no sé, but they might have like some like a different like a district or something like that, like a different name for like for where they live. But I definitely ask them that because they'll be able to tell you kind of exactly what type of music that that is like very custom of where they live. So that's kind of interesting to know as well. So like for me, I was talking with my italki tutor, right? And she's from Veracruz, Mexico. But like the music, let's say like within her city, maybe a little bit different from the music in like the southern part of Mexico or the northern part of Mexico. I don't know exactly where Veracruz is. But yeah, but like different parts of Mexico, like I was saying beforehand, they'll have different styles of music. So it's really interesting to understand that. And then also, we're not just talking about music in Spanish, right? Not in Spanish language. You have to think about music from the indigenous languages as well, from the indigenous people, because before like the Spanish came over, Portuguese and things like that, French, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of indigenous tribes here as well, or within Latin America. So that's another layer to learn. That's what I've been recently discovering a lot with my italki tutor with Mexico. If you see some of my videos, I've been talking about like the influence of indigenous languages within Mexico, because like if you look on a map, there's a lot of city names. There's a lot of city names in Mexico. There's a lot of city names in Mexico, for example. There's a lot of city names in Mexico that if you look at them, you're like, that's not Spanish. And and that might be very possible that it's actually not Spanish, but it's like Nahuatl. It's a native language. It's an indigenous language. So I think that's also really interesting too. How there's a big influence. There's a big influence of the native languages of Spanish speaking countries as well, and then mixing with the Spanish language, and then also mixing with the Spanish language. For example, in La Isla de Española, so the island of Hispaniola, which is Haiti and the Dominican Republic. But before like this, I don't know who else was there. I think the French, yeah, before like the French, and and the Spanish came. I think primarily on the island there was the Tejano people. Tejano. Let me write that down. It's something like this. The Tejano people. So they have different words and stuff like that are mixed in with the Spanish there, and then like in Mexico, there's mm, I think like the Aztec, there's Maya. I think Nahuatl might be in a different language as well. So there's different native languages that may be mixed with the music as well. So it's kind of very interesting, at least for me. I kind of nerd on it, as you can see. But I'm just recently learning a lot of these different things. Like I just learned about like the Taino people last year because I went to the Dominican Republic for the first time last year. And then same thing with learning about these native languages in Mexico. I mean, I've heard about them before, like in my previous classes, but not at this deep of level. When I'm trying to, figure out, what's Spanish, and then what is like a native, what is an indigenous language. What's the difference between Spanish and Nahuatl, and then, how can you tell? So I think that's kind of interesting. AEO says, no necesito para mí, no me gusta rap en español. Okay. No puedo apenas entender a alguien que hablando naturalmente. Okay. Doesn't need it for him, or doesn't need it for them. Si no me gusta rap. Doesn't like rap in Spanish. Can barely understand someone speaking naturally. Okay. See, no hay problema con esto. You got to start somewhere. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I would say it's not even about, you don't have to understand like the music to enjoy it. That's one thing that I would like, advice that I give, to anybody learning languages, any languages, and then also when they're learning Spanish. You don't have to try to understand everything that you're listening to enjoy it. The same thing with conversations in Spanish. You don't have to understand 100% of a conversation to enjoy it. You don't even have to understand 50% or 20% of a conversation to enjoy it. You just listen, you enjoy that time that that you have with with that group of people that you're talking to, or with that Spanish speaker. Same thing with music. A lot of the music, like I was saying beforehand, with like merengue, with Anthony Santos, I don't understand what he says probably like 50% of the time, but I still love merengue or bachata, one of those two genres. I still like the music that he plays. So that's something to keep in mind as well. You don't have to understand everything, to listen to it. You can still listen to it without having to, try to understand everything, but just at least try to, enjoy it. Just enjoy listening to that song, enjoy listening to a conversation without understanding. Okay, Cody Petty says, tengo un libro vocabulario de español en esta palabra, etimológico approach. Es muy interesante ver de dónde vienen las palabras y cómo mezclan con inglés y otros idiomas. Oh, wow. That's really good to know. So Cody Petty says, I have a vocabulary book, and it's Spanish and oh, I was reading that in Spanish, not in English. Etymological approach is really interesting to see where the words came from and how they mix with English and other languages. Yes, I agree. A lot of words that we're using come from languages that we probably would have never imagined. I think that's really interesting. Oh, like today I realized that the word loo, like kind of the way that we use it here, like in the United States, like at the bathroom, or a place to use the bathroom, like a loo. But I found out today that that was actually like from like a French word, I guess. Loo, I don't know how to pronounce it, but also loo as well. AAO says, ¿tú sabes otro idioma que hablan en América del Sur? Yo no sé otro idioma que se habla en América del Sur. Desafortunadamente, ojalá que sí en el futuro, pero ahora mismo no. Yo no sé, tampoco yo no sé los nombres, tampoco yo no sé los nombres de estos idiomas tampoco. Solamente como lo básico, los básicos en México de lo que yo aprendí en la escuela, en la primaria, en la secundaria y en la universidad. Poco, poco. Si es eso porque dije me gusta melodia y beats. Entiendo. Okay. All right. So AAO asks, do you know any other language uh, that is spoken in South America? And I do not. But there are, of course, there's many of them. There's many indigenous languages, in Central America and South America. Then also, the islands as well. The Caribbean islands. Um, but I would definitely like to learn maybe one day. I've never thought about it until you just said it right now. But I think that would be interesting to find out. And AEO also says, yes, and that is why I said I like melodies and beats. Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense now. I hear what you're saying by melody. I was thinking something else for some reason. So like to listen to beats and melodies. Un momento, por favor, mientras yo tomo agua. Agua fresca, agua fría. Cody Petty says, I didn't realize until recently that there is Arabic influence to the Spanish language as well. It gets deep, absolutamente. Y por esa razón estoy súper feliz. Ay Dios, estoy súper feliz que estás aquí para hablar de ese tipo de tópico. Yeah, thanks for coming and talking about this topic because it gets very deep because what is it? What do they say? Like the Moors or something like that. Like there's a big Muslim or Islamic influence in Spain because different people being in Spain. So I learned that as well. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of overlap in between Arabic and Spanish. Like that, yeah, that's very crazy. Oh, really? There's also another word, como la palabra Almohada, pillow, I believe, is in Arabic. Alam. There's almohada. There's also alhambra. That may be an Arabic word. I forgot. I have to look it up. But I do actually have a lot of Arabic friends. So and that speak Arab, that speak that are Arab, and they speak the Arabic language. So I should definitely ask them about, if they know about it as well. But yeah, big influence in Spain. Spain for me is like a completely new frontier for me. It's a completely new country because I never learned anything about Spain growing up. Like in high school, then college, they didn't teach us anything really about Spain. But now I'm starting to talk to more Spanish speakers from Spain and learn more about the country. And yeah, it's very deep. They have a very of course long history just because of how long it's been around. And like in comparison like to the United States, United States, South America. I mean like politically wise and like these established countries haven't been around for a long time. But like with Spain, they've been around for a very very long time. And then as far as like how much history that we know as well, it goes back very far. So I guess yeah. And then I guess technically Spanish is derived from Latin, right? Something like that. Some I don't know. But yeah, it goes way too deep. There's way too much history about it. It's like you really talk all day about it. And then the different type of music as well, in Spain is really interesting as well, because if you listen to their music, you'll also notice that it's very close to Arabic music as well. So I think that's kind of cool. And I also like the way that they dance. Like they kind of like, you see like some of the women, they just kind of like they stomp their feet and things like that, but they're making like a beat with their feet while they're also in rhythm with the music that's playing. I think it's usually like a little guitar. I don't know exactly what I don't know exactly what that instrument is called, but yeah, you should listen to some music from Spain. It's really interesting. Have you listened to music from Spain before yet? But that's something I'm trying to dive more into. La español de España es súper, súper diferente y distinto. I like the accents. The accents are pretty interesting and definitely different from other Spanish speaking countries. I mean, all of them are very different, but like with them is fairly noticeable. Like, oh, which country's from Latin America versus which country or which accent is from Spain. But it's kind of, I feel like sometimes Argent like the Argentine accent is kind of similar in the fact that of like how different it is like to other Latin American countries. Like it's almost similar to Spain, the Spanish spoken in Spain a little bit. But yeah, let me know if you listen to music from Spain. And there you're now at 3 votes. 3 votes in for what is your favorite genre of Latin music. We have 67%, 67% for la salsa, and then we have 33%, 33% for la bachata. Yo says, hoy alguien a trabajo que sabía hispanohablante, pero ella no fue hablando en español. ¿Cómo así? So someone who's at the job that knows Spanish. Oh, okay, but you haven't spoken with them yet in Spanish yet. Yeah, do it. Dale, dale, hazlo. Porque no? Get that practice in. The workplace. If you have Spanish speakers in your workplace, try to speak with them as much as possible. I never really had too many Spanish speakers like within my jobs. until maybe like a few years ago. But it's like really good practice and it's fun. Then you get to speak Spanish, while you're at work instead of speaking English all the time, and get practice while you're working, and you don't have to wait until you get home. Cody Petty says, I've always heard the Spanish accent as kind of intentional lispy, but I haven't directly searched for music from Spain, but the accent is instantly identifiable. Yeah, absolutely. So this is one thing that I've heard, that you shouldn't say that it's a lisp, because it's not a lisp, it's an accent. I don't know if that makes sense, but that is something that I've heard like recently, and that kind of makes sense. Like, because I think what some people are trying to say is that a lisp is like a form of like a speech impediment, right? But when a Spanish like when a Spanish speaker speaks, right? So a Spanish speaker from Spain, when they speak, they don't have like a speech impediment. That's just how the accent is. So they're making themselves have that type of accent and say it that sounds like a lisp, but it's not actually like a lisp, if that makes sense. It's kind of like going around in a circle. Like, no, it's not a lisp. We're trying to make this sound. Pero el acento, la canción, como esto. Ella says, ella fue hablando otro idioma nativo. Oh, ¿verdad? Oh, wow. Ella says she was speaking a native language. That's really cool. I haven't met anybody, none of my friends that are Spanish speakers. I don't think any of them speak, they speak like a native language of the country, and neither do I. I don't speak any or really know any native languages of the U.S. Unfortunately, unfortunately. So un acento con lisp. So how do I explain this? When people are like referring to a lisp, they're talking about how the accent how the accent sounds with Spanish speakers. So hispanohablantes españoles. So los hispanohablantes que viven en España tienen un acento así. Cuando cambia como las letras, por ejemplo, cambia la C, la letra C por las letras TH. Entonces, yo no voy a decir entonces, yo voy a decir entonces. Yo no voy a decir canción, yo voy a decir canción. Entonces, como una cambia de letras y sonidos cuando hablan así. Es muy diferente, pero también me interesa también hablar así. Claro, perfecto. Cody Petty says, yeah, not to be offensive. No sé cómo es. No, no, no. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm not saying you're trying to be offensive. That's just something that I'm saying that I've heard recently, but I never thought about that before. Like for me, I always thought about it as a lisp, but then like other people were saying, no, it's not a lisp. It's like, no, that's just how we speak. So that's what I mean about it. Um, I was like, oh, it gave me like a different perspective, like, oh, I guess maybe it's not a lisp. I don't know. It's just the way that they sound. But I like their accents. They have different types of accents there too. So just like with other Spanish speaking countries, different parts of Spain, they speak differently. And I've heard, or I watched some YouTube videos, where Spanish speakers from Spain were kind of having that conversation, how they have different accents, what people sound like, what different words that they use in different parts of Spain. And then they also have Catalan. And Catalan is sí, suena como un lisp, but like I don't even know what a lisp is like if it's in English. I don't know. In English, I don't even know how to even like copy a lisp, honestly. Um, yeah, I know. Pero en español, yo sé cómo hacerlo. It's just como like cambiando la C por la TH. I think it's fun. I think it's funny, and I also think it's fun to do that. But I mean, like there's, it's normal to do it. So What other? Well, I always try to find like as many like Spanish words that have C in them as possible, just to give me a good excuse to use it. So I think of what else. Right now. Canción, decir, canción, decir, darse cuenta, no. Because like you don't do it with every single C. It depends on where it's located within the word as well. So, and then Corey, could you what was that book called again? I want to look that up. Is it called Tingling with Vocabulary de Español? Yeah, could you like put that in the chat what that book is called? I think it'd be kind of interesting to kind of figure that out. Or kind of learn about like the back of the different words. I think with that, I'm gonna go into a rabbit hole. I'm gonna go into a big rabbit hole if I buy a book like that. Cody Purdy asks, ¿Tienes intención? Oh, thank you for the C. ¿Tienes intención de aprender un acento específico o más neutral? Bueno, para decir la verdad, los dos son correctos. Entonces, este año estoy mejorando mi acento neutral porque me di cuenta que fue horrible los últimos 2 años, como no sabía cómo pronunciar las palabras correctamente. Y también yo, como se me olvidó, como se me olvidaron como lo básico de la pronunciación en español. Entonces, por esa parte estoy aprendiendo o mejorando mi acento neutral, pero como ahora estoy tratando de imitar el acento de España. Entonces, yo tengo dos acentos que yo quiero mejorar, pero hay otro más y eso es el acento dominicano. Y yo he trabajado mucho con esto por un año más o menos, porque el año pasado yo fui a la República Dominicana por la primera vez. Yo fui ahí 2 veces el año pasado y eso es cuando yo empecé a desarrollar mi acento dominicano y hablar con un montón de dominicanos también y aprender de esa cultura. Entonces, como ahora mismo no estoy practicando solamente un acento, pero estoy practicando más que uno. Imagínate eso. Es muy difícil y también yo no practico mucho con ese acento, pero yo trato de hacerlo, de hacerlo lo más que puedo. ¿Me entiendes? All right. Hope that answers your question. I don't feel like translating that into English. I will if you need to though. But I will say it in English, so I have to for those who are listening later on. So Corey asks, do you have any intention of learning a specific accent or more neutral? So my answer to that was both. So this year I really been focusing on bettering. That's not a word, is it? Bettering, on increasing. No, I'm making my neutral accent better in Spanish because I realized that the past few years. Well, actually, let me go back up a little bit. I took classes when I was in middle school. Then in high school, that took like a whatever 4 year break, and then I took some more classes in the university. So I wasn't never focusing on pronouncing and speaking ever. We weren't really practicing speaking in our classes. So then the past 3 years, I still wasn't really focusing on like the basics of pronunciation. So I forgot it all. So that's why this year I've been literally going back to the basics, and I mean like the alphabet and making sure I know the sounds of the alphabet, making sure I know the different rules of the alphabet as well. Like la H, for example. La H is muda. So the H in Spanish is silent unless, sometimes it's like next to a C, like chocolate. So in this case, the H technically has a sound, but yeah. But like for the rest of the time, you're not going to pronounce an H. Or for example, la B suena como B. So B in Spanish, you're going to say it with B. You're not going to say it like you would in English. You're not going to say la vela. which is a candle, you're going to say la bella. You're not going to say, yeah, let's stick with that. I can't think about another V word right now. But you're going to say bella instead of saying bella. And I, for like the past, few years, I've been saying it with, like with an English accent. So I've been saying it. I've been saying my V's like B instead of B. So I've been trying a lot, really, really hard this year to increase my neutral accent. And then also because I wasn't really using it beforehand, like last year, even like maybe like 2 years ago, I was mostly using, I was mostly using like an accent. I was trying to imitate like all the Spanish speakers that I was listening to. So I wasn't really using my like a neutral accent too much, but I was always trying to add in like another accent. So that goes. So there's your answer for the neutral accents, and then for the ones that are non-neutral accents, I already had the Dominican accent a little bit last year because I went to the Dominican Republic, but now this year I've lost it a lot. I lost my Dominican accent a lot. I forgot a lot of words just because I haven't been speaking with Dominicans a lot this year, and I haven't been using my Dominican accent this year, unfortunately. So that I'm trying to increase and get better as well. It's been kind of difficult. And then this year, for the first time, I've been trying to increase. I've been trying to develop my Spanish accent, so my accent from Spain, just because I thought it was very difficult and I didn't know anything about Spain beforehand. So I'm like, why not try to learn the accent from Spain and learn more about the Spanish language because the origin kind of comes from over there, right? So that's the reason why I kind of wanted to learn the accent from over there. But that's a long-winded answer just to say the Dominican accent, the Spanish accent, and then also the neutral accent I'm working on right now. And how about you? What accents do you want to learn? And then same question for you, AEO. Are you trying to learn a specific accent in Spanish or just neutral? Then Cody also says Spanish vocabulary and etymological approach by David Brodsky. Be careful, LOL, going to lead you down a rabbit hole for sure. And then AEO says como firmar. Claro que sí. I don't know. Actually, I don't know what you want to say by como firmar, like to sign. I don't know what that means. Cody Berry says Ricky Bilingue blogs. Yes, I watched a lot. I watched so many of his videos over the past few years. Yeah, he's like one of the first YouTubers. He's like one of the first YouTubers that I started watching when it came like to Spanish. So I watched a lot of his stuff. Yeah, no, I love his content. Yeah, he has a Dominican accent. I like the Dominican accent a lot. Ya tú sabes. Voy a contentar con acento de inglés. Ok. Concentrar. Contentar con concentrar. Sí. Pero, ¿qué significa eso exactamente? ¿Cómo firmar? ¿Cómo así? ¿Firmar qué? ¿Qué es lo que quiere firmar? Firmar. Y yo no me acostumbro a este nombre. Firmer. I don't know what that word is actually. Or unless you're saying firmar. I know what firmar is. But yeah, Bilingue blogs. He has really good content. I love his passion for the Dominican Republic, and he has like I like his videos like where he's doing skits. Like those are really funny. Or he's like he plays like a Spanish student who has like a very gringo accent, and then he's also playing someone who's like a native Spanish speaker. Those videos are hilarious. Are there any other let's see, any other YouTubers that you watch for Spanish besides Blingway blogs? Y perdóname porque tengo tomar algo otra vez. I guess I put my questions in the chat. YouTubers do you watch to learn Spanish? Ori, pero yo creo que tengo un acento más mexicano, pero a veces gente me confunde por dominicano. Ok, qué chulo. Quizás estás utilizando palabras dominicanas. Corey also says Richard Simcott. I don't know who that is. Other YouTubers that Corey watches. Luca Lombardiello. I watch a lot of his videos as well. And then also Laoshu, RIP, Buen Descanso. See, I like his channel as well. And yeah, kind of sad that he's gone. I mean, he had a big influence. He had a very big influence within the language learning community as well. A lot of people knew him. Well, like watching his videos and stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to figure if I know any Mexican YouTubers that aren't podcasters, but like straight up from Mexico. There's easy Spanish, but other than that, I don't know too many other ones. I'll write that down. They're usually in Mexico. I think sometimes they may go to other countries, but primarily they're in Mexico. Their channel's really cool because they put like the subtitles. They have the subtitles for English and they have subtitles for Spanish. Pero me encanta el acento mexicano. For me, it's always. I tried to get a Mexican accent like 2 years ago, then I quit like right away. But I was just doing like through Netflix, and it's not like the best way. Ella says, no seguro cómo se pronuncia farmer or fime. No sé en verdad. Yo no sé. Con esa palabra, la neta es, yo no tengo ni idea de qué estás hablando. Farmar or fime. Are you like right now? That sounds kind of like French and not Spanish. And I'm laughing because like there's a verb that's exactly like that in French, like exactly like that. Firmer. I've never said that word before. I've never even seen it before, but I would assume that you just pronounce it like firmer. Let me look it up. Do I have my dictionary here? Yes, I do. I do have my dictionary. That's why you should get a dictionary. Well, online or paper. I like having both because I like to read physical stuff and not always be on my computer. Fir, what do you say? To sign. I thought it was firmar. Let me see. Déjame ver esa página. No, que dónde está firmer, firmer, firmer. Firmer, fir. Yeah, ok. Si tienes que cambiar, espérate. Claro. Tienes que cambiar el A o el E por la A. You have to change that to, oops, firmar. So it's not with an E, it's with an A or with an A. No es con E, no es with Spanish. No es con E, es con A. So firmar. Claro, a ver. And if y'all need like a dictionary, I have like a Spanish grammar book here. a verb book. I have these like linked in the description box of this. It should be in the description box after this video is over. I don't know if you can see the description box right now. Oh yeah, you should be able to see the description box too. That, and then short stories in Spanish for beginners, just some Spanish learning resources. If you or if anybody else who's going to be watching the replay is interested in some Spanish learning resources, like the basic ones. So dictionary, vocab book, and then grammar, and then just some like really beginner books, beginner intermediate Spanish books. I always like to have like some basic, the most basic Spanish learning resources on hand, just because the most basic ones, because I always use them. I always use my dictionary. I use my verb book a lot, or my vocab book a lot, to look up verb conjugations if I forget one. I usually do, like, all the time. So I was like, I'll just take this and then I'll just look through it real quick. I'm like, oh, okay, right now I'm in cagar. I don't know how to say the present subjunctive version of cagar. Okay, it's cargue. Boom. And that's kind of like how I like fix my errors really quick, that fast. Just like look up, okay, I forgot how to conjugate this verb. All right, let me look it up real quick. All right, then I start to use it. Oh yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about too. I wanted to talk about Tejano music, because Tejano music is a genre of music in like the United States that I think like technically originated from Texas, hence the name Tejano, or la música tejana. So something that I'm starting to learn about a lot recently as well. So Tejana music. So like some popular, I'll say like one of the most famous Tejano artists was Selena, and is Selena. So she is very, very important for Tejano music, and that's right here in the United States. So that's what I meant by having, like, with the music, Latin music, and then Latin dance. We can have more knowledge, even of your own particular country. And in this case, for me being from the U.S., I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about how much like Latin music was like very important, and like to the culture of Spanish speakers, but then also like within the country in general, because she grew up here. Selena grew up here, and her music is very popular within the country, not just for Spanish speakers, but then also for English speakers as well. So I think that's like very important to understand more of, and then also because like when I heard her music, for the first time, I didn't know what her music was, but now I realize, Selena's music, it's Tejano music. It's la música tejana. And then as well, I was confused on, well, I'm like, well, technically she's like, Mexican, right? But then this type of music, it sounds like it's like cumbia, it sounds like salsa. So I've been trying to figure out, what is what technically is Tejano music, because I've heard another Tejano artist, Jay Perez, and I looked him up, and I was like, oh, why does his music sound so much like music from the U.S.? Well, he grew up in the U.S., and he also has a lot of music that sounds more like blues, or it sounds almost like R&B or something like that. So I'm finding like a lot of like really interesting facts about music, like in this type of way within my own country. And then we also have like a lot of artists, a lot of Latin American artists that are very popular within this country, but then also around the world, right? Like we have Mark Anthony for La Salsa. Like I said beforehand, we have Romeo Santos, we have Aventura. They're from Nueva York. We have Extreme. All right, their names down too. Mark Anthony, he's extremely popular within the salsa community, salsa music. Aventura from New York. Aventura, and Romeo Santos became a solo artist, I think. And then Henry Santos también. Henry Santos, I don't know, I think that's his cousin, I think. Romeo Santos. We have J Lo, even though I don't really like her music. No offense to her, but I don't like her music too much. I don't know if she has that. I think she may have one song with Mark Anthony, I think, in Spanish, but they used to be married or whatever. And they're both from Puerto Rico. You know, Bad Bunny. We have Pitbull. I don't know if you know who Pitbull is, but yeah, he's a funny guy. Pitbull. He's like he's like an American national treasure. His music is yeah, like kind of like party type music. He's very well known within the U.S. They grew up in Florida. Who else am I missing? I missed other ones too. Selena. Oh yeah, Jay Perez. Who I listened to for the first time this year with Jay Perez. There's other ones too I'm missing. Those are just a few. Yeah, Mr. Worldwide. This is him in every video. Mr. Worldwide. I think I thought I wrote down some other ones. Let me see. And then for Tejano music, I want to learn more about Tejano music. Cause like I said, I'm super confused. Cause like, the music that Selena, sung, at least like the ones that I can remember, they sound very much so like cumbia. So Tejano music is, I guess, it's like a fusion of cumbia, it's a mixture of cumbia, and I guess it's also a mixture of some genres of Mexico, but then also a mixture of genres of the United States as well. So it's like super interesting. Shot, no, it's not from here. And then yeah, for those who are listening, we're just talking about the importance of learning Spanish with music, with Latin music, and also Latin dance. And the reasons that I have for that is you're able to understand the culture of Spanish speaking countries, understand more of the culture of the United States. If you're born and raised here, or if moving here, whatever the case may be, kind of understand how it's related to the U.S. and like the combination of music and culture between Mexico and the United States. Increase your listening skills, increase your pronunciation skills, be able to communicate better with Spanish speakers and connect with them easier at a deeper level. Just because of how influential music is in different countries within Latin America, and then also increase your mental health. And I guess I can talk about that right now. And like I say like to increase your mental health because like if I'm angry, if I'm like sad, then I'll throw on some Latin music, some musica latina, and then I'll feel a lot better. Like because like music for me is like therapy. I love listening to music. Helps to calm me down. It relaxes me. It takes like negative thoughts away and things like that. And then also I'm listening to that in Spanish. So then my brain gets focused more on the Spanish and trying to understand what the lyrics are in Spanish. Camden Bo de Buenos Días de Australia. Ah, qué bueno. Tenemos una persona en la audiencia de Australia. Bienvenidos. Thanks for coming. Camden Bodie. If you haven't voted yet, make sure that you do. What is your favorite genre of Latin music? Cumbia, merengue, salsa, bachata. If you don't see your specific genre there, make sure that you throw it in the chat because there's a lot other. There's more. There's more to that list. It's not just four of them. Y un minuto. Tengo que cagar mi computadora. Ok, ahí estamos. Ok, yo es porque necesario que tú sabes muchos detalles sobre el tema, porque no mires un documental o algo. Bueno, no, yo no sé, quizás me equivoco, no entiendo tu pregunta tanto. Tu pregunta, ¿cuál es tu pregunta exactamente? ¿Por qué es necesario que tú sabes muchos detalles sobre el tema? Are you asking me if I think that I should learn more about it? or porque no miras un documental. I haven't really watched a documentary about music before in Spanish. I don't think I care enough about about the subject that much. Why? Porque es necesario que tú sabes muchos detalles sobre el tema. Todavía no entiendo bien. Like, are you asking me if I think it's very important that you should, or that I should be, let's see, sobre el tema, muchos detalles. If you're asking why I think it's important, yeah, I'm sorry. Lo siento, no entiendo bien. Because muchos detalles sobre el tema. I don't know that much. I don't know that much about the subject, honestly, because I just started getting more into like Latin music just like the past few years. So I don't know much, and I never really like actually studied like music before. So like, this is all new to me. Why should you know so much detail about music? You don't have to know much music. You don't have to know too much detail about it. You don't have to. I just had this. I'm just talking about it because I think it's important, just like for you to be aware of it. As a Spanish learner, you don't have to, but I want you to be aware of like what else is out there for a Spanish learner. So like in this case, it could be resources. So with Spanish music, well, I know a little bit. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, you don't. Yeah, like I was saying before, you don't have to know a lot. You don't have to know a lot. I don't know a lot at all. like honestamente, yo no sé casi nada. I don't know a lot at all. But it's just for you to connect with Spanish speakers easier. Para que conectes mejor con los hispanohablantes. That's what I would think. And I'll give you an example. Like when I went to Mexico and when I went to Dominican Republic, I heard music literally everywhere. So I think like that's one reason for me why I got more into music, because like I said beforehand, I didn't grow up listening to music like that. I didn't go into yeah, so I didn't like grow up listening to music. But then when I went to these countries, I heard it all the time. Like they played it at different stores. You can see people dancing in the street to music. You can see people at stores listening to Latin music, and they're dancing to music while they're working. So I saw that a lot. So that's why I kind of started to listen to more of the music, because that's what I was seeing around me, what Spanish speakers were doing. Music was always playing literally all the time. Down the street, people were blasting it in their cars, and like a lot of different households, you could hear music and things like that. And then AEAO says it feels like going in science of the subject. No, this is not the science of the subject. This is not the science at all. I don't know anything about como la ciencia de la música. Right now, we're just talking. This is like for me, I would say that this is like just kind of basic stuff. I'm just talking about what genres are in different countries, basically, and what genres are in different countries, and a little bit about the history of these different genres as well, right? So I'm not going into anything like really detailed. I don't know too much about all the history, or a lot of different artists, names of artists. I don't know that much about music. I'm just kind of just trying to share like a little bit of what I know when it comes to Latin dance, Latin music. So if you have an interest into it, then you can look it up. You can, for example, you can start dancing if you want. You can start taking some salsa dance classes, some dance classes if you would like to. So that's basically why I have this live stream, which kind of to give you more ideas of how you can learn Spanish. So you can learn Spanish directly, with music. There's people who do that, and I'm actually going to give you a podcast right now of this one podcast host. She has this whole podcast that's specifically for Spanish students who are learning Spanish, but they do it through music. So they do a lot of like trying to like understand like the history of music, and try to understand a lot about like the background like different artists and things like that. So if you want more, like learn more about like the science of music, then I would go to her podcast because she goes very in depth. And they also talk about travel as well. They talk about traveling, living in Latin American countries or Spanish speaking countries as well. So they have a variety of different. Oh, here it is. They talk about a variety of different topics within this podcast, but it's called Learn Spanish con Salsa. So her focus is learning Spanish, but through music. So it's a really good podcast that you should check out, and then you also get some more ideas of how you can learn Spanish. So that's a big part of this live stream to be able to understand more about the Spanish language, because it's not just about learning words and things like that, words and sentences, or I can say, me encanta ir a la playa, simple phrases and stuff like that. But like learning a language, is a lot more than just learning some basic words and sentences and things like that. But it's about connecting with people, because if you're learning Spanish, more than likely you're going to be using it in the future someday, right? So you're going to be communicating with Spanish speakers, and then that's why this whole music thing comes up. Once you start talking to a Spanish speaker, right, then you're going to learn about these different things. You're going to learn about, there's all these different genres like within this one particular country. Oh, you're from the Dominican Republic. Okay, then they start talking about the music. So really, like these types of conversations come up. Like for me, for example, is because I've talked to a lot of different Spanish speakers. So it wasn't necessarily me it was never me that said, "Oh, I want to learn about Latin music, Latin dance." I didn't know anything about Latin music 3 years ago. Like I said, I didn't know anything at all. The only reason why I got to this point right now was from speaking with Spanish speakers, and then I started to talk to them more about music. I got more interested into it, and then I started to learn a lot more about the Spanish language through Latin music and Latin dance, because of how important it is in all these different countries and all the cultural references and like the culture aspect of music. So that's a very long-winded answer for you. But yeah, let me give you the podcast name. Learn Spanish con Salsa. I would definitely check out this podcast, listen to it. I hope you enjoy it. You definitely get some different ideas of how you can learn Spanish, learn Spanish through music. So that they dive very deep into it with a lot of these episodes. Like let me find one episode to give you an idea. Oh, let me put and then podcast. Let's see. I'm trying to find one episode here. Living abroad. Like this episode is called "The Music Lover's Guide to Becoming Fluent in Spanish." So that's kind of what I mean there. Let's see. 3 things you should do at the end of your story. Dance with cause. Yeah. So definitely check out that podcast. Corey says, ¿tienes unos consejos de cómo no mezclas francés con español desde que estás aprendiendo los dos al mismo tiempo, y también vas a aprender otro idioma después o parar con español y francés? So Cody Petty says, do you have tips to not mix French and Spanish since you are learning both at the same time? And are you going to learn other languages besides or after? After, are you going to stop with Spanish and French? Great question. And then just want to say, for those who are coming in, make sure that you vote. Make sure you answer the question in the chat. What is your favorite genre of Latin music? Cumbia, merengue, salsa, bachata. And if you don't see your specific genre there, make sure that you put it, type it in the chat. And thank you for all those who are joining. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, and share with your friends. I appreciate all your support. Y para responder a tu pregunta, bueno, es una pregunta tan difícil para responder, dado que yo no tengo muchos problemas con mezclando esos idiomas porque la pronunciación de cada lengua es bastante diferente, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, yo no tengo problema con separando esos idiomas. Yo puedo aprender español y francés al mismo tiempo sin confundirme tanto, porque like the French pronunciation is just is fairly distinct. So that's why for me it's very simple to separate these two languages. Actually, I don't have to separate it. Like I don't have to force myself to, you know, to separate the languages just because French, the pronunciation, the vowels, how you say the letters are fairly different from how you would say it in Spanish. So I don't really mix them up that much, honestly. As far as like how to separate them, I would say, focus on, the basics of grammar, then also the basics of pronunciation. That's probably gonna be, your best way to not mix them up. For example, when I first started, so at the beginning of this year, well, even right now too, I don't know a lot of the different rules when it comes to pronunciation with French. So if I don't know that, if I see a French word, I don't have my flashcard right here, but if I'm looking at a French word right now, let's say like in a book, then I'm probably going to say that with my English pronunciation, or I'm going to say that with my Spanish pronunciation, just because I don't know how to pronounce that in French. So to be able to really distinguish between the languages, then you would have to, learn the pronunciation rules, and then make sure you really understand how it sounds. And then that's probably my biggest tip for you when it comes to trying to separate them. You have to understand how it sounds. Claro, tiene sentido. Yeah, you have to understand how it sounds, and then you shouldn't have too much of a difficulty with it. Um, I know that there's more to the question, I know, but I think just because I'm so new at it to learning both at the same time. I don't know how to like answer like maybe like the second part of the question, how to separate them. I know people get mixed up. I don't know how exactly people are getting like the two languages mixed up, right? Or if they're learning two other languages, what exactly are they getting mixed up? Oh yeah, okay. Maybe they're getting the grammar mixed up. Maybe in French you don't put the adjective. Wait, blue, azul, casa azul. Like you don't put the adjective in front of the noun. Maybe it's reversed. So maybe they get mixed up with the grammar rules, right? So in that case, it's the same exact thing. Then you would just have to make sure you have a good grasp, a good understanding on what the grammar is in French, so you won't get those mixed up. Yeah, it's kind of the best piece of advice I have for you for that. You basically just you keep studying. At first it may be like very difficult. At first, it may be very difficult, to do, because like for me, for example, I know a lot about Spanish grammar. I know a lot about Spanish pronunciation. But if I try to do that, with French, then it may not mix together good. So for that, I need to have a solid foundation in French. Make sure I don't, try to learn too many advanced things, but really focus on the basics. With pronouns and articles and things like that. Where do they go? Apostrophes, because they have apostrophes in French, which kind of annoys me. But yeah, that's the kind of the advice that I would give to you on that, for how to separate them. And maybe try to do them. Well, for me, I'm a little crazy right now because I purposely try to mix them. I not try to mix them, but I try to study them at the same time right now, if that makes sense. So when I'm thinking, I usually think in Spanish, right, throughout the day. I try to think of the Spanish word, and then I also try to think of the French word. So if I'm thinking in Spanish right now, and I'm thinking, okay, estoy leyendo un libro. Estoy leyendo un libro. So that is, I'm reading a book in Spanish. So I'm thinking that in my head. But now I want to go to, okay, how do I say that in French? So I'm trying to like, I'm having them almost like side by side. So they're not necessarily mixed together, but I'm trying to figure out, which one's which. So estoy leyendo un libro. I don't know how to say that in French right now, besides like j'ai lire un livre, algo así. So that's the kind of way I separate it. So that goes to, just increasing your knowledge of the language, increasing your vocabulary, increasing your pronunciation, so you don't mix the Spanish pronunciation with the French pronunciation, because there's a lot of similar words. There are so many cognates in between French and Spanish, so I can see why some people can get mixed up sometimes, because I would say in between French and English and Spanish, they have like some similar endings. For example, in English we have transportation, and French we have transportación, and Spanish we have transportación. So in that case, it can be very, very similar. So you would really have to focus on the pronunciation of the letters in French, and then with Spanish, focus on that ending, and focus on that the letters of the Spanish alphabet, so you can pronounce it like with Spanish and not French. But I actually have noticed recently that when I say certain things, I'm starting to say them with like a French accent. So I remember catching myself saying like comunicación, yon, more like French versus Spanish. Instead of saying la comunicación, I started saying yon, a little bit different. So that's one way. Yeah, then your second question. So yeah, after French, I want to get conversational with French, and then after that, I want to move to German. So that's kind of my goal right now. So I have no idea when I'm going to get to conversational with French. Probably when I'm stopped being so lazy. I just have to learn a lot more vocabulary. I gotta put more work into it. But I want to learn German. I kind of want to be a polyglot. I'm not gonna lie, but I think that's like a pride thing. Like I want to learn as many languages as possible. But yeah, I definitely want to learn more languages. But yeah, we'll see. I don't want to skip. I don't want to learn a new language before I have a good solid foundation with another one. So like with French, I want to be a conversational, be able to talk about like basic, a lot of different topics, but at a basic level. Once I have that, I know that I can create sentences, without any issues. I know where articles go, prepositions. I can put sentences together. I can understand like comprehension. That doesn't matter to me that much. I don't have to understand 100%. I don't have to understand 80% of what a French person is saying. I'm fine with 50%. But as long as I can, speak and communicate, then that's the moment then that I would, move on to another language. As of right now, that could change like next month. Next month, I could be like, you know what, I'm gonna start German this December or this November or whatever. All right, that's a very long answer again. EAEO is like knowing the history of American president, not just Obama, Trump, and Biden. Exactamente. Hay una variedad de historia, una variedad de géneros, hay una variedad de todo en con la música latina. Hay un montón de todo. Cody Perry tiene sentido. Dancing Along with Rentals, buenos tardes. Buenos tardes y bienvenidos. Muchas gracias por venir acá para hablar con nosotros y estar con la comunidad. AEAO ¿estás usando language stacking para aprender otro idioma? I kind of forgot what language stacking is, so I don't have an answer to that. I've read it before. Is language stacking, is that when you got to remind me what that is. I forgot. Janella Murphy. I took French in middle school and high school for 3 years, and I used to speak it kind of fluently. Now I'm teaching myself to learn. Oh, that's awesome. Buen trabajo con eso. Make sure that you go back to the basics and don't do what I did. And like I took breaks. I did kind of like the same thing. So I took Spanish in high school, or I took it in middle school, took it in high school, and then I also took some Spanish classes when I was in college. But then during that whole time, like the whole time frame, I forgot a lot of like the basic Spanish rules and things like that. But I was still like studying a little bit more advanced, Spanish grammar and things like that. I never took the time to go back and study the basics, and that's what I'm doing this year to get rid of all the mistakes that I make, because I make a lot. I make a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I make like really basic mistakes that like you shouldn't be making, if I've been studying for over 6 years or or whatnot. including like in school and stuff like that. So that's something that I would recommend for you to do, Janella Murphy. If you like, unless you already know it, like if you remember all the basics, then fine, you're good with that. But if you don't remember the basics, I would recommend that you brush up on it because it's very helpful and it's very important. Or you'll go through, let's say you study French for like the next 2-3 years, right? And then eventually you might have to go back to the basics anyway because you may like when it comes to like Spanish grammar, I know there's like some basic like foundational things of the Spanish language that I need to know before I actually have an understanding of more advanced grammar concepts. So like for example, I have let me look at my book here. So like my verb book here, like let's say I start with the no, let's do this. I start with not conditional, subjunctive, the present subjunctive. So that's like the basic version of subjunctive, present subjunctive. But then after that, you have past perfect subjunctive. So that's something that's a grammar concept and a verb conjugation that is a little bit more advanced. Because in this case, you're talking about in the past, and then so you have to know first of all when you're talking about in the past, and then you also have to change that to the subjunctive. So that's what I mean by like kind of knowing your basics. I know you didn't ask for this, you didn't ask for this, but I'm I'm just giving you this, kind of giving you this advice. But it's all mostly for me because that's what I'm working on right now. But yeah, for like subjunctive, you have subjunctive that's also in the past. So I think that's something that's really interesting and also kind of difficult. So like in perfect subjunctive, you have for concluir, we have concluyera. And you have to know when to use the subjunctive in the past. Subjunctive in the present is already difficult enough, but then you also have to know when to use it in the past. You have to know like what verbs, the preterite, when someone's using the preterite, and the imperfect, when they're talking about in the past. And then you have to know when you need to use the subjunctive as well, but in the past. So it's kind of difficult. All right, yo asks, ¿cómo usas inglés de aprender español? ¿Vas a usar español de aprender francés? Exactamente, eso es lo que yo estoy haciendo ahora mismo. Antes, con español, obviamente, solamente yo hablé inglés, porque eso es mi idioma nativo. Entonces, yo aprendí español mayormente, o no, completamente con inglés. Pero ahora mismo, dado que estoy aprendiendo francés y español a la vez, yo utilizo mucho español para aprender francés, porque yo no tengo un deseo para regresar, escuchar inglés, por ejemplo, con un video. Yo quiero escuchar a un instructor o instructora española o español para enseñarme francés, porque yo no tengo que cambiar a inglés. Yo puedo hacer todo con español porque yo tengo un nivel de vocabulario que es bastante amplio, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, yo estoy, por ejemplo, como yo dije en mi video hoy, que salió hoy, yo tengo un sticky note aquí, ¿ok? Y por arriba yo tengo una palabra en francés. Y abajo yo tengo la traducción de esa palabra, pero es en español. Y eso es la forma que más yo disfruto para aprender francés. Porque primero que nada, yo soy capaz de aprender, mantener mi español mientras mejorando mi nivel de francés. Entonces, yo no tengo que solamente pensar en inglés y después traducir al español o traducir a francés. Solamente yo puedo quedarme con español y francés y ya. Nada más que eso. So AAO asks, ¿cómo se dice en español? So as you use English to understand or to learn Spanish, are you going to use Spanish to learn? Are you going to use Spanish to learn French? So I was answering this question there in Spanish. So yes, that's kind of what I've been doing. I'll say like most recently, I wasn't doing this at the beginning of this year because I didn't really know about this method. So one of my friends actually told me about this. She was like, "Oh yeah, what you can do is start to learn French, but from Spanish speakers. Since you're already fluent in Spanish, you can understand Spanish speakers just fine." So that's what I started to do. So then I don't have to really go back to English. I can just stay with French and Spanish. So now this is actually a method of studying both languages at the same time, and then also an easier way for me to maintain my Spanish. So instead of having, like I was saying here, instead of having like French word and then an English word, or like the French word at the top here on my sticky note, and then having the English translation at the bottom, I have the Spanish translation at the bottom. The same thing with my flashcards. On one side I have French, on the other side I have Spanish. And then when I'm watching, right now, for depends on what I'm trying to learn in that particular day or for the particular week. I try to watch an instructional video completely in Spanish, but it's about French. So it's really interesting. It's also kind of weird. I won't lie. It's really weird listening to a Spanish speaker teach like a French lesson, but I also like it a lot. So that's so that's kind of what I've been doing primarily right now. So I don't really lose my Spanish, and I also don't have to necessarily reduce the amount that I'm studying Spanish. That's like the biggest fear for me this year, was that I didn't want to have to reduce so much of my Spanish studies so I could focus on French. So I'm like, well, how the heck do I do that, right? Because I would have to focus on one more than the other one. But this method allows me a lot easier to study both languages at the same time. And then my next goal is to, for example, gain enough vocabulary in French where I can start to translate. So then that's going to make it even more easier for me to study French and Spanish at the same time. So what I mean by that is this book is in Spanish. So one day I will be able to translate the Spanish book into French. And then also, if I'm reading a French book, I'll be able to translate the French book like French, like a few sentences into Spanish. So that's kind of my main goal right now. Perdóname. Ellos says language speaking is algo que aprenden desde polyglot. Language speaking. I don't know who that is. I should know who that is. Corey Betty, the necessary evil of past conditional subjunctive. LOL. My italki teacher beat me up over that. The funny thing is, I don't think I even used that in. I don't remember even using that in college, honestly. Maybe we did, but like barely. It was probably just like on one test. But I've never used it before. But now I'm starting to see it a lot more in books, and Spanish books that I'm reading. So and like articles and stuff like that. So I want to start to use it more because it's kind of difficult. But if you already know the basics of, like saying before, if you already know the basics of the subjunctive tense or the subjunctive present tense, and then you also know how to conjugate in the past with preterite and imperfect, then it'll click. It'll definitely click because like the endings will be kind of the same. Actually, I lied. The ending is not the same because you have to add the ara at the end. I forgot. You have to add the ara. It'll be like hubiera. Como, I think it would be like pareció que hubiera más gente, más gente, más gente, más gente que esperamos. Something like that. I don't know. Could be wrong. Let me look it up real quick. But yeah, that's it. So that is what language stacking is. See, SOS language stacking. Okay. So yeah, so language stacking. AEO says when you're using like your second language to learn your third language. So that's what I'm working at right now, and it works very well. That's all I have to say. One thing I'll say, the one thing that I'm missing right now with my French studies is that I haven't been thinking that much this year. We're already in September, but I have not been thinking consistently in French. Even though my vocabulary is very low, it doesn't really matter. I know enough where I can, try to formulate some simple sentences. Not I won't say like actual sentences, but I would say like common phrases, or like certain words. Like I can think of like chair, I can think of TV, I can think of door. So that's one thing I need to practice a lot. But yeah, this is all new to me, and it takes a lot of energy, and that's something that I have to be very careful of because I almost burnt out. I would say I did burn out, but yeah, I almost burnt out this year. I'll say that I almost burnt out when I was at the beginning of this year when I was doing my Spanish italki lessons and my French italki lessons. It was kind of a lot. But now I feel like my my brain, like with this language stacking method, helps me a lot because now I'm always trying to think in French and Spanish at the same time. So I'm getting my brain's getting used um to thinking in well, I guess now three different languages, but thinking in two different languages, throughout the day. I'm trying to, think in Spanish, but then like in the morning, like I'll think in Spanish, but then in the background I'm listening to like a podcast in French. It's like the weirdest thing ever. To like you're listening to French. I don't know like everything that they're saying, probably like maybe 10%, 5% what they're saying. But then I'm thinking in Spanish about that French podcast. It's a really weird sensation, I'll tell you that. But yeah, if you want to learn a new language, like two languages at once, you can definitely do it. I would definitely recommend that you do if you have like the interest to do it. If you have the desire to do it, just go ahead and get started. That's what I did. I literally did not have any study method for learning French and Spanish. I didn't go on like before January this year, before I started this new journey. I did not go online and look up for hours and hours and hours how to learn two languages all at one time, how to learn French and Spanish at the same time. That's not what I did. The first thing I did literally was just it was kind of like automatic. I did like the basics, like the most basic things that you could do to learn a language, like right away. I went to the store. I bought some basic resources, grammar book, a dictionary. I downloaded Duolingo. I started working on my Duolingo lessons. I started to write down notes for the grammar that I was reading. I watched a few instructional videos on YouTube. When I say instructional videos, I shouldn't say that. I should say just like videos about teaching like the alphabet, for example, or like videos in French. Well, in this case, I was watching a lot more in English, but like watching videos about someone, teaching on a whiteboard, the articles in French and things like that. For me, that's what I was doing. That was my method at the beginning. That's kind of really all you need. You don't need like too much of like a very, I would say, like a crazy plan. You just have to start with the basics because the beginning is, I would say, of learning a language is fairly simple, but it's also like a long process. So that's why I didn't really look up too much. I'm like, well, I just started learning more vocabulary. All right, I got flashcards. I'm going to learn, like the most common, whatever, 10 nouns, the most common 10 verbs, and, go from there. Start building up my vocabulary. Okay, or, well, depending on what your goal is, for me, it's conversational. So I know with my Spanish studies what type of words I need to create a sentence. So I kind of use my knowledge with learning Spanish for that as well. So I'm like, okay, we use a lot of articles in Spanish. All right, so I'm going to make sure I learn the French articles because French articles are very important for when you are speaking, when you're reading, and when you're writing French as well. So I kind of use my knowledge already from learning Spanish to help me with learning French as well. And I don't think that was a question, but you got it anyway. All right, let me know in the chat if you what other question that you have. Corey, perdóname. hablando por 2 horas. No me acostumbro a hablar, no me acostumbro a hablar por 2 horas así. En esta forma. All right, Corey Perry says, I can't remember where I heard it, but someone said that we don't learn a language, we just eventually get used to it. That simple mindset shift was huge for motivation. We got to enjoy the process. I like it. I like it. We don't learn it. We get used to it. But honestly, I'm not gonna lie. No te voy a mentir. That sounds like, oh, if I get used to it, that sounds like it's gonna take a very, very long time. For me, when I hear like get used to it, that sounds like I don't even know. It sounds like I'm not gonna study at all. I'm gonna get used to it. It's like that. I'm just gonna throw on like a few movies. I'm not gonna study at all. I'm gonna be chilling. But yeah, it takes time. Hey, yo, es la verdad. It's the truth. Es la neta. Es la pura neta. Es la pura neta. It takes time. Oh, a child learns. Okay, you know what? I'm glad you brought this up. So Corey Perry says, true, Lord. I suppose they were referring to the way a child learns. So I've been thinking about that recently, right? Just because for me, I'm an adult and everything. I try to be an adult sometimes. But like for an adult, I've heard this strategy a lot. You have to learn like a child. I agree. Probably like 80%. The other 20%, I would say no, because the fact is, we aren't children, right? So the difference between like a child and an adult is you are being taught by, let's say like, some adults, or you're being taught by your parents, you're being taught by, teachers, like consistently in that language. That's your native tongue, right? But like as an adult, right, you may not have that same, or more, no, more than likely you're not having that same experience unless you're living in a country that's Spanish speaking, or if you're living in a household that speaks Spanish. So I'll say in this case, we take some methods that the child uses to learn Spanish, but then other times we can't do that because I'm not sitting here right now, surrounded, I'm not with my parents right now learning Spanish constantly every single day. The only thing that they're talking to me in is in Spanish, and I don't know any other thing else besides Spanish. So that's kind of what I mean by that. But as far as like how we consume content and things like that, how we remember words, it is through like a lot of repetition, hearing it over and over again, and also asking a lot of questions as well, like with the child, right? They're gonna say ¿qué es esto? ¿Qué es esto? Y esto, ¿qué es esto? You know, say they're always asking why. They're always asking, what is that? And that's kind of the same thing that we can do as adults as well, because maybe you're a beginner in Spanish. You don't know what this is. ¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué es esto? Say, ¿qué es esto? So kind of like that. Like as a child, you have to be, I think, when learning Spanish. But I'll say that's like the only difference. Like the only difference is like, you don't have, unless you do have parents who are Spanish speaking, and you may not be in an environment where it's like that, where everything around you is in Spanish. And I think that's probably like the only difference I would think. But that's just an opinion, and it could change like within the next year. All right, let's see if I pull here. Oh, I see. I'm gonna go back to our main question. Oh wait. Top. Oh. 1 second. Okay, what is your favorite genre of Latin music for the question in the live stream? For 6 votes so far. So for salsa, we have 50%, so 50%. Bachata, we have 50% también, 50%. Cumbia, 0%. Nobody likes cumbia, huh? Merengue, 0. 0%. Ay, qué lástima. Janella Murphy, I want to speak Spanish fluently just like English. The best way I learn is by listening and practicing with my friends and neighbors. That's great. So do I. I've learned a lot through communicating with native Spanish speakers. Like more than like if I was just like learning, like just sitting here and probably like on a computer watching Netflix and stuff like that. I would say I've learned a lot more through speaking with Spanish speakers for sure. Um, and Janela, I want to say, I want to say your name like Janea, because like la double L, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Or Hanea, if I were to say that like with a Spanish accent. That always confuses me when I'm like when I'm switching between English and Spanish all the time. That always happens. So Janelle, what kind of resources are you using to learn Spanish? Like what kind of platforms are you using? Using YouTube, using Spotify, are you using Netflix? Are you using like a language exchange application? What else are you using besides your neighbors and your friends for learning Spanish? Duolingo, okay. I love Duolingo. Duolingo works very well. I don't care what anybody says. People complain about this app so much. It works very well. That's all I gotta say. People don't know how to use it properly. That's what I would say. But people get so frustrated with the application so much. I've read a lot of comments on Twitter, on like in Reddit, and like on YouTube. People bag on it all the time. Do you listen to any Latin music? And do you dance? ¿Bailas un tipo de baile latino? Currently, right now, I am kind of discovering a lot more about the genres of like Latin music in Mexico for the first time in my life. So that's been kind of interesting. Genres in Mexico. I never knew what merengue was literally until like the end of last year, the beginning of this year. So I just started listening to that a lot. I listened to bachata for the first time last year. I went to Dominican Republic. Bailas mucho. Amas bailar. Qué bueno. Hey, ¿qué tipo de bailes? What do you like to dance to? Corey Petty asks, ¿Alguien usa Link Q? I've heard of it. I've never used it before. I don't use too many like courses really, or too many applications besides like Duolingo. Honestly, or I don't know. I thought about paying for some form of advanced Spanish course, but I've never done it yet. I think I might do it just to see what it's like if it would actually help me. But so far, I haven't used like any course like that. And LinkQ, is that the one that Steve Kaufman built? Is that like his product, or does he just like promote it? I don't know if that's like his or what. Yo, pero no es fácil aprender el idioma desde otras personas. So AAO says it's not easy to learn a language from other people. It's difficult, but language learning in general is difficult. It's not how do I put this? It's not. It's like it's a simple process. You learn vocabulary, you learn pronunciation, you connect the words together, you make a sentence, right? But it gets complicated when you actually start to speak with Spanish speakers and try to understand what they're trying to say and things like that. Janella Murphy says bachata, merengue, salsa. Ay, ay, ay. Since I love to dance, I have no problem. Que bueno. Man, look at oír esto. How long have you been dancing for? And how long have you been listening to Spanish music for? I just started dancing for the first time in my life, like to Latin music, to Latin dance. Like I think three months ago now. No, 2.5 months ago. I just started dancing la salsa and bachata, or taking like formal classes at this one discoteca, and it has changed my life a lot. And not a, oof, I love bachata, I love salsa like a lot. I don't know which one I like best because they're very different. Salsa, mueva la cintura, salsa, sí señor, cómo no. Corey Perry, sí creo que Steve es el creador de LinkU, tal vez tiene un equipo de web designers, no sé. Hay partes libres en el app que se puede usar, nunca he pagado. Okay. Okay, bueno. Corey just says, thinks that Steve is the creator of LinkU. Maybe there is a team of web designers that doesn't know. There are free parts in the application that are able to use, but has not paid for it yet. And I'm gonna write something in the chat here. Para que sepan, y'all have to know this. It's, oops, I can't spell. What am I doing? El idioma. No decimos la idioma, es el idioma. So that's one of those like those weird words where you have to like change the article, or not change the article. The article you would think is feminine, but it's actually a masculine noun, un sustantivo masculino. Janelle Murphy says, since the early 90s, been dancing. Wait, you've been de nada. Con placer, con placer. You've been dancing since the early 90s, but like to Latin music in general, or just dancing or dancing in general, or to specifically like Latin dancing? That means you must be like really good then. I'm trying to get on that level. Oh, then AEAO, I'll give you another one. El programa. That's another one too. Looks feminine, but it's actually masculine. That's actually a masculine noun. There's a lot of other ones. Like what else? I'll think of some other ones. Oh man, I'm kind of blanking out right now. El idioma, vamos a la pierna. Yeah, they'll come to me. Oh yeah. Here's another one. El sistema. That one's been kind of difficult for me to get. That was difficult for me to get right for a while. El sistema. The system. El sistema. Oh yeah. A body part. This one's also very difficult for me to say. That one's very difficult, especially when you start to add like the actual hands, like la mano derecha and la mano izquierda. Well, in this case, this is your left, this is my right. Oh, no, that's good. So yeah, la mano izquierda y la mano derecha. That one's really hard to say. La mano derecha, la mano izquierda. That was kind of confusing. I used to say a lot like, oh, la mano izquierdo, la mano derecho. I was like, oh no, la mano izquierda, la mano derecha. What let's see, yeah, since we're on the topic, let me know in the chat what other platforms, what other Spanish learning resources are you using? And also, how did you come across my channel? I want to know that too. How did you come across, or how did you find me rather? How did you find my channel? Me encanta saber de ese tipo de cosas, porque yo quiero tener un canal súper grande, lleno con personas, para que aprenden la más cantidad que pueda aprender ese idioma. Yo quiero crecer el canal súper largo. Yo quiero crecer ese canal muchísimo. Sí, eso empecé con la historia de niño. Con historia de, ok, ella y yo, sí, eso. Empecé con historia de niño, ok. I don't think I've ever read a children's book yet in Spanish before. Possibly when I was in middle school, but I can't remember right now. Murphy, I want to be a translator. I found your channel by accident. Wanted to check it out. That's awesome. All right. Well, all right. I'm going to give you one resource that's going to help you a lot. Maybe you know this podcast or not. Maybe you don't. But I started listening to this podcast as well because I also wanted to be a translator or an interpreter. Actually, an interpreter rather. There's a difference. I'm sure you know that. Maybe you don't. But like a translator, like technically in this industry, is someone who translate like written text. Then an interpreter is someone who's like translating like verbally, through speech and not just like written material. But for anybody who wants to know about how you can actually use your Spanish skills for like a job or something like that, I'm going to give you a really good podcast that's going to give you like a really good introduction into the interpreting world, because she has a lot of different interpreters with a lot of different backgrounds within a lot of different industries, and they just talk about their experience being interpreters. Oh, you want to be an interpreter? I thought about it. I actually took a course. I finished a course this year for community interpreting, and then I realized how difficult it's actually going to be. I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this because there's so much there's so much vocabulary that you have to know. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long it takes to become an interpreter, honestly. But check out this podcast, and I hope you learn a lot from it, because I know I have. Brand the Interpreter podcast. Like she has a website. She's on Spotify. She might be on other ones, but I use Spotify primarily. And then she's on YouTube as well. So I would definitely check out that podcast. It's really nice. I think that's maybe the only. I think that's like the main one that I've used to learn more about this industry. And Janella, why? So, what sparked your interest about becoming a translator or interpreter? How did this journey start? I'm just trying to see right now if I have any other podcasts for interpreting, and I think that's it. Controlador, respecto to Salsa, Coffee Break, La Vida, yeah, that's all I have for right now. But yeah, that'll be enough. I'll give you a good start if you want to learn about that industry or career path. Has anybody else thought about being an interpreter or a translator before, or using your Spanish for a particular job? I have a few times. Corey Petty says, I keep saying I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but Corey Perry. I'm trying to say like an English and Spanish accent at the same time. It's not working. Te encontraré simplemente con un search de Spanish language learning o algo así. Siempre busco gente con interés en el aprendizaje de idiomas para compartir consejos. Ah, qué bueno. So it found me simply with a search, Spanish language learning or something like that. Simply always looks for people with an interest in learning languages and shares tips. That's great. That is perfect. That's exactly how I would love people to find me more. And I definitely want, that's kind of like the biggest goals of my channel, really, is to get as many people to learn Spanish as possible, to get interested in the language and language learning Spanish, because there's so many benefits. I've talked about a whole bunch of them already within this live stream. I think learning a language, learning Spanish can change your life. Not only change your life, but it'll make your life better. That has been my experience. That's what I've heard from other language learners as well. So I think it is fairly true. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that and watch my my videos as well. Today, I released a video about learning French and Spanish at the same time. And it is quite difficult, but it's also very fun. And it's a new experience for me. But let me know in the chat if you are planning on using your Spanish skills or what you're learning, or your Spanish skills for a bilingual Spanish job, or if you want to use it in some type of career field or something like that. Janelle Murphy says, I come in contact with a lot of Spanish-speaking people who are afraid to speak English. I find it fun to learn from them and they learn from me. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really interesting when you start to meet other people. Like in my case, I have a lot of friends, whose families are immigrants. They moved here from different countries in Africa, from Africa, or different countries, different Arab countries. And I kind of hear that kind of similar story where, like the child has to translate a lot for the parent, because, the parent either doesn't want to learn English, or they have a lot of fear of English. And I've seen that a lot with, like within the Spanish speaking community as well, like the Latino community. Sometimes, that may happen. And I kind of have, that same passion as well to help people. If they have some struggles with, speaking Spanish, or, if they need something or whatever. So that's kind of like how I got into kind of wanting to be an interpreter, so I can help bridge that gap. Because number one, coming to a whole new country is very difficult. I don't know if you've ever done it before, but yeah, moving to a new country, and like imagine that you don't know the language of that country. Like imagine how difficult that would be. So that's kind of like where like interpreters come in, translators come in, and a lot of different community services like that to help out these types of people who are coming to a country like the United States, but they may have limited knowledge in the English language. I think number one, it's very brave, and number two, I think it'll be extremely stressful. I'm like, well, how the heck am I supposed to do anything? How do I buy stuff? How do I communicate with people? So yeah, I kind of went on a tangent on that, but yeah, I like helping Spanish speakers in any way I can, because I'm able to. I have enough knowledge where I can help them out. Like with some basic stuff. I'm not talking about anything like serious, like like whatever, like hospital stuff, or nothing like that. But if they have a question, like in the like in a mall or in a store or something like that, they have a question or whatever, I can help them out with that or something like that. But yeah, creo que es mejor que si quieres ser intérprete o intérprete que el idioma es tu idioma nativo. AO says, They think that it's better if you are an interpreter translator that that is your native language. I mean, you don't have to. There's plenty of interpreters who how do I put this, that learn like a new language, and it's their second, it's their second language, and they're still interpreters. It happens all the time. It really depends on how much you study and how much effort that you put in, because I mean, depending on what the job is, you have to you have to have a particular like certification. You need certification like within US for certain jobs. You need to have like a certain level of vocabulary. You need to have certifications for translating, and not just knowing the language, because like when it comes to interpreting and translating, that is it's like its own separate skill, translating and interpreting. So you would actually have to study and get like certification for that, depending on what the job is. Not all the time. Sometimes you don't need any of that stuff. But that's what I mean by that. As far as like, you don't have to be like a native Spanish speaker to be an interpreter in between both. It depends on what you have studied and how much like basically dedicated to get a particular certification. That's all you need for a job, basically, is a certification. In some cases, if you want to be like a medical interpreter, well, you're going to have to do some sort of certification that's going to test your knowledge of the vocabulary, but then also test your knowledge of being able to translate and interpret in those types of settings. So it's a specific skill that you actually have to that you have to increase, and it's not just because like you're a native speaker. Just because I'm a native speaker in English doesn't mean I can interpret necessarily for another English speaker into like a different language. It's a skill that you have to be able to develop. If that makes sense. That's what I learned in my that's what I learned in my course. I'll say that's what I learned in my course. Janelle Murphy says, I also use Google Translate on myself. You type the word in English and you can have it translate to any language you want. I use it a lot as well. On my phone, I have Spanish. I have Spanish Dict. So I'm probably in this application at least like once a day. If not once a day, at least once a week, looking up different words and sentences and looking up how to conjugate different verbs. Other than that, I don't have too much on my phone. I have iTranslate too. I just got that recently, but I mostly got that for French and not Spanish. But yeah, it all depends. It all depends on like what the job entails, I would say. According to like actual like like what do you call them? Like job postings and stuff. Like if you look up like a Spanish interpreter, then they'll tell you what the requirements are. Sometimes they may be looking for a native speaker, and sometimes no. You just have to meet the qualifications. So kind of just depends on what you're looking for. Yeah. I'm gonna put one song in here. I think is really fun. And it's quite challenging, but I think it'll really help with your pronunciation, but then also with like the flow of your speech. I'm kind of changing subjects, but if you have any questions about like that kind of stuff, like just let me know. We could talk about it a little bit. All right, here it is. Maelo Ruiz. Será que sí? This song is very fast, and that's why I like it. It's una salsa. Será que sí? There should be an accent over the A, but I don't have that right now. Será que sí by Maelo Ruiz. It's very fast, but that's the way I learn sometimes, is by trying to imitate a Spanish speaker who's speaking very fast, And with the song, it's pretty simple. I can look at the lyrics and then try to match their pace, try to match like the rhythm and stuff like that. So this is one song that I learned this year. That was super difficult. I got super tongue tied, but it was really fun when I was able to actually like, actually memorize the lyrics. Diga cosas, tal vez hablo dormido. And then you can also, with music, you can also learn a lot of different, a lot of grammar. You can learn a lot of grammar concepts with music, and then all like verb conjugations, verb concepts, or excuse me, grammar concepts, verb conjugations. What is this? Like, where does this preposition go? So word order, things like that. And usually with music, it's simpler to understand and learn, at least for me, versus if I'm just like looking at sentences like in a grammar book. Just because like with music, if you listen to a lot of music, you kind of know like it's like it's a lot more fun to like try to understand what the lyrics are, and then it's also easier too. It's really easy to kind of memorize the lyrics. Maybe like throughout the day, even today or yesterday, you're probably like singing to a song just because you remember it from your childhood and things like that. That's why I love music so much. That's like the power of music. It makes it very easy to to remember like the lyrics. I don't know what it is. For whatever reason, once we put words and stuff into like a musical format where we have instruments and we have singing, it's just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it makes it a lot easier to remember. But anyway, that's one song that I like, as far as one that's really fast. If you want to practice kind of like your fast Spanish, that one will will definitely challenge you. And then there's another one that I have. Let's see. No quiero estar solo by Jay Perez. And this one I like just because it has like a lot of different verb conjugations. So it's actually not very fast. It's very slow. But he just uses a lot of different verb conjugations, like six different ones. So I think that's like the beauty of Spanish too. You listen to a song and you would never know that it's filled with grammar. It's filled with like maybe some complex grammar. But like in this case, there's six different verb conjugations within just this one song. So there's actually like a lot that you can learn from it, and very simply, because you just be singing along and you wouldn't even notice that you're even really practicing grammar. Is that one, and then one that's also kind of like a hard for the conjugation wise. Si hubiera sabido. I remember who the artist is though. That's not him. Si hubiera sabido que no tenías ganas de amarte, tal vez. Si hubiera sabido. Si hubiera sabido. I'm gonna look it up on my phone because I forgot who the artist was. Se me olvidó la artista. Si hubiera. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, me hubieras dicho. Me hubieras dicho by Gio Sarante. Un otro sacerro. And that is me hubiera dicho. Si me hubieras dicho. By Gio Sarante. Murphy says, when I listen to that music and I want to know what the words mean, I type it in Google Translate and keep a file. Oh, that's good. Yeah, like with some Latin songs, you can't, or at least it's kind of hard to find on the internet. Um, that's kind of been like my experience. Like some letras, some lyrics I just can't find for some songs. There may be, I don't know, some like website that's only in Spanish, maybe that has like a whole bunch of like songs and lyrics. I don't know, but I haven't. Yeah, I don't usually. Yeah, I haven't really translated them like that before. That's a good idea though. But sometimes I don't like translators just because they don't translate well all the time. Or sometimes, like with translators, they can get some simple phrases correct, but then sometimes what they do is they translate like word to word a lot too, and I don't like that because that doesn't work very well. You can't always translate like word to word from English to Spanish. Sometimes you can, not all the time. Sometimes that doesn't make any sense. Like hace frío, like to make cold. Hace frío. Va a hacer frío. Va a hacer calor. It is going to make hot. Hoy, today. Hey, yo, ¿cómo te sientes que no aprender un idioma desde música? ¿Cómo es que no? Mm, ay, ¿cómo es que no aprender un idioma desde música? How do I feel about not learning music, not learning learning? I can't speak. How do I feel about not learning a language with music? I mean, fine. I still could. I mean, that's kind of what I was doing at the beginning. I wasn't really listening to music like that. But even with me, I don't, I don't analyze lyrics. So some people, when like that one podcast that I sent you earlier, some of these students, they'll actually, they'll take a lot of different songs, they'll analyze them, they'll try to figure out, what each word means, and they'll try to memorize them, and that's the way that they're learning Spanish. I don't do that. I mostly just listen to music for fun. But while I'm doing that, so it's more passively. I don't really do too many active activities with Spanish music and like lyrics and stuff like that. But while I'm listening to it passively, I still learn a decent amount just by listening to the same song over and over again. I pick up some words and I pick up some phrases, but other than that, I don't usually dive too deeply into that. Tengo que tomar más agua. But yeah, I mean, I could. I can still learn without it. It's more of like it's more like a pleasure thing. So going back to like one of the benefits of learning, Latin music and Latin dance when you're learning Spanish, I said it's like like for a mental health thing. So like for me, I like listening to this type of music because it makes me feel really good. It kind of takes me away from like any stress I may have. It makes me really relax. Anytime, I don't feel, like good or whatever, have like a down day, me siento muy aplastado en el piso un día, solamente yo pongo una canción de la salsa, de la bachata o de merengue y me siento mejor. Inmediatamente, tan rápido así. Solo con la música. Hopefully that answers your question. But what other questions y'all have? Porque este live stream se va a acabar un poco pronto, probably in like 10 or so minutes. Se acabará esta live stream, probably in this live stream in about 10 minutes or so. So, what are the questions that y'all have? Let's see. We talked about Spanish grammar with music, talked about Spanish listening. We've talked about different genres with music, how you can increase your pronunciation skills, and also the cultural aspects of music, of Latin music and Latin dance within Spanish speaking countries, and then also even within your own native country as well. So we've covered a lot of topics today. It's been good. It's been a good conversation. What other questions do y'all have? Oh yeah, the one thing I forgot to add. I'll add this in the chat as well. If you do have any questions about Latin music and Latin dance, one thing I would do is talk to Spanish speakers. So meet someone on a language exchange application. I just put two in the chat there. Hello Talk and Tandem. Those are really good for meeting Spanish speakers from basically any Spanish speaking country that you can think of. I think some of them. I know Hello Talk does. I think maybe Tandem does as well. They have like these little like live stream events too, where there's like different Spanish speakers that they're all talking to each other. But yeah, I'll check out those applications if you want to talk more with Spanish speakers. Janela Murphy says, I want to speak Spanish like you, mi amigo. Claro que sí, y tú puedes. Tú puedes lograrlo esto. No es tan difícil de verdad, solo tienes que practicar mucho. Practicar cada día constantemente sin cesar y hacer un esfuerzo. Hacer un esfuerzo es como la única cosa que tienes que hacer, practicar mucho, porque yo estoy ay Dios, yo estoy introvertido, en verdad. I'm actually an introvert. I'm a very much so of an introvert, and to be able to get to my level of Spanish was very difficult because I'm like talking to people all the time. Like my safe space is reading a book by myself, not talking to people. But with Spanish, that kind of it broke me out more out of my shell. But to really get to the level where I'm at today, I had to practice. I've been practicing a ton for the past 3 years, trying to improve my speaking skills. I had to speak, so I had to stop just reading books all the time. I had to stop just watching stuff, listening to stuff passively. I had to practice speaking. Yo hablo, bueno, más o menos, es normal, no es nada malo, no es nada bueno, no es nada excelente, pero estoy mejorando cada día. Eso fue un acento muy extraño. Yo trato de mejorar mi forma de hablar cada día. Thinking in Spanish, it will help a lot with trying to improve your speaking skills a lot. Make sure you think in Spanish. When I say think in Spanish, I don't mean just thinking like right now. I'm thinking, oh, okay, what should I say right now in Spanish? Okay, yo tengo tres perros. I'm not saying that. Throughout the day, make sure that you're thinking in Spanish because this is going to keep you in Spanish mode all the time. And then it's going to help you focus on the Spanish language. Your mind is always going to be constantly thinking in Spanish, making connections and things like that when you're thinking in Spanish. And if you don't do that, then basically, let's say you study for 10 minutes in the morning, right? But then you don't do any Spanish until like 7 p.m. at night. So you have this large gap where you aren't thinking about Spanish at all. So with thinking in Spanish throughout the day, it eliminates that gap because it's very difficult from if you were it's very difficult to kind of transition like that from not thinking about Spanish and not thinking about Spanish at all, not studying Spanish to trying to study again and trying to think about Spanish like, oh, what did I remember. So that's why I like to think in Spanish throughout the day. I'm trying to narrate what I'm doing. Estoy hablando con ustedes en mi computadora negro. Yo he hablado con 3 horas y luego yo creo que yo voy a bailar con mis amigos, pero ahora mismo no estoy seguro porque yo tengo otras cosas para hacer en mi casa. Yo tengo que comer, yo tengo que cocinar, tengo que llamar a mi tía, yo tengo que un montón de otras cositas para hacer. Entonces, no sé si yo tengo tiempo libre para ir a bailar. Y así es como yo mejorar mi forma de hablar y también con el vocabulario, porque mientras pienso en español, yo me di cuenta que, yo no sé esta palabra, yo no sé esta frase, ¿cómo debería decir esta cosita? Yo no sé cómo decir, like, cut the chicken. Yo no sé cómo decir eso en español, tengo, yo voy a buscarlo y eso es la mejor forma para mejorar tu vocabulario, diría eso, pensando constantemente en español así. That's what I would say. Janelle Murphy says, Janelle Murphy, you speak really good. Muchas gracias. Thank you. I'm trying very hard. I feel like I still have a lot of improvement. I have a lot more, a lot of goals and stuff like that. A lot more that I need to work on. That's for sure. And also likes to speak Spanish with people. Yo también. I love speaking Spanish with Spanish speakers, with native Spanish speakers, and then also with with Spanish students as well. So they don't even have to be native Spanish speakers. I learned from some of my friends who I speak Spanish with as well. Dancing along with rentals. Have a great week ahead, everyone. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for the chatting. Okay, adios. Muchas gracias por venir. I'll see you in my next videos and maybe a future live stream. Have a good one. Adios. Que se vaya bien. All right. Has anyone has anyone shared my channel with anybody before? And if not, make sure that you do. I really appreciate that. Spread the word para atraer más gente. Yo quiero más gente que vea este canal. I want more people to see this channel, to subscribe, to like my videos, comment, and really start to contribute more to this community that I'm trying to build right now on YouTube. I want as many people to learn Spanish as possible. That is my goal. I want people to get fired up. I want people to have a passion for learning Spanish and for learning languages. Corey Perro, gracias por los consejos y recomendaciones, hermano. Yo voy a compartirlo en el canal en Facebook. Oh, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Thanks for the tips and recommendations, brother. I'm going to share your channel in Facebook. That's great to hear. Muchas gracias por esto. Muy amable y le aprecio mucho por eso. Me encanta compartir mis consejos con ustedes lo más que puedo. Por eso estoy aquí. That's why I'm here. Give y'all advice, motivación, aviso, consejos, lo que sea, lo más que puedo hacer. Oh, and one last question before I hop off here. What has been like one of your favorite videos, or what type of videos do you like as well? What? Oops. ¿Qué tipos de videos que te gusten? Of videos do you like? And which video is your favorite? ¿Cuál es tu video favorito? Is your favorite? That would be kind of awesome to know as well. So I know what other kind of content that that y'all would like to see in the future and things like that, or what content was like the most impactful for you and things like that. Zena Murphy, Dios le bendiga. I'm going to say this channel in my library and share with others. Muchas gracias por eso. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Le aprecio. I would love that a lot. And I hope my content is helping you as well. Hope I'm making good enough content or you're learning a lot. and it's helping you with your Spanish learning journey. That's what this is all about, to help y'all on your journey to make your Spanish learning journey not stressful. I don't want it to be stressful. I want it to be fun, because I've had many stressful moments, and that's why I like to talk about those type of things, so you don't burn out, so you can be organized and have all the resources that you need to learn Spanish. And when I just learn Spanish, be able to communicate with Spanish speakers and anything else that you would like to do as well. If that is, for example, in this case, or we talked about beforehand, being an interpreter. So I don't have like any experience, within the actual field, but I have some knowledge of some resource that you can reach out to, if you did have questions. So estoy aquí para ustedes. Y déjame ver esto. Esto también. No sé. Súper despacio. Trato de dar un mensaje. Ok, perfecto. Si ustedes no tienen nada más, muchas gracias por venir a este live stream. Thank you all for joining and being a part of the chat. It was a really amazing conversation. I really enjoyed it a lot. Learned a lot from all of y'all as well. Very much appreciated. Muchas gracias por todo. And I hope you guys enjoy the content on my channel, and also that you enjoy your Spanish learning journey. You enjoy your Spanish studies. General Murphy, where can I find other videos? Yeah, just look up Spanish blueprints. 1 second. Yeah, so you should be able just to click on my name at the top here. I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you can see it on your end, but I'll give you the link as well. And then you can subscribe to the channel. You can also set up alerts too for my new videos. Then you would get some like a notification when I do make new videos. I'll send you the link in the chat here of my channel, so you can have it like the direct link to the main page. Writing is a tool and a skill that you need as a beginner. Super despacio. And then, all right, so there you go right there. In the chat, I just put in my YouTube channel. So that'll take you to like my main YouTube page there. So you can see my other videos. You can see about me, my playlist, the community tab. I like to post a lot of things there as well. Different questions and kind of just like anything that pops into my mind. I have some short video format. I have some short video content as well, which are called shorts. It's called YouTube Shorts. I have also the majority of my videos are longer form content, and then also have a few live streams. I think this is the 4th live stream on my YouTube channel. Oh no, the 5th. Let me see. I think it's the 5th one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th. So yeah, the one right now, ahora mismo, es el 6. Oh no, séptimo. Es el séptimo live stream. But yeah, that's where you can find my other videos. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and like the videos, comment if you like them, if you don't like them, whatever the case may be, lo que sea, no me importa. lo que es mejor para ti, lo que te vale. Entonces, sí, esto es todo para hoy. Muchas gracias por venir a este live stream otra vez. Mil gracias. I appreciate all your support. I appreciate all of your comments as well. They're very motivating to me. It helps me know that your comments help me know that I'm making some content that's helping you out, making some videos that are give you some good advice. I like to know that. So yeah, make sure that you comment on my videos so I know what things that you like, what things that you don't like as well. Pero nos vemos muy pronto. Muchas gracias otra vez. Espero que tengas, espero que tengas una buena noche y también un buen comienzo de esta semana. Y te veo luego. I'll see you later and have a great week. Have a great week. Have a fun time. Have a fun time studying Spanish. Make sure that you don't get too stressed out about it. Just have fun, relax, enjoy the process, and you will reach your language goals. Adiós y nos vemos muy pronto.